Actually, I just clicked on the wrong thing. Hey, what's up, everybody? It is now 7 p.m. Central, and no matter where you are in a video store. The online digital hangout space for people who miss hanging out IRL and talking about movies. I'm one of your two clerks/hosts for the night, Adam Protextor, and my wonderful co-clerk, co-host, Stephanie Thoreson, is currently rescuing a baby canary who flew into our window and will be here momentarily. Until then, let me just recap on how the show works. First of all, welcome back to any regulars that we have. I can't see who's in the chat yet, but I know we've got a few people tuned in. You can follow the store on Instagram at You Are In A Video Store. That is where we will post things like our movie club picks, posts of new arrivals, and something we're going to reveal tonight, which is a new segment Stephanie concocted that is wonderful and brilliant. In general, the show breaks down into 3 acts. The first act is us saying, what did you watch? We want to know what movies you watched over the course of the past week, or if you're just joining us recently, we'll tell you what movies we watched over the past week, and we'll discuss them, maybe give each other some recommendations, have an open dialogue. Part 2 of the show is new arrivals. That is going to be anything new that we got in stock this week. We do have some fun tapes and Blu-rays and DVDs that came in the mail over the past week we will show. And finally, the movie club will close us out as our Act 3. Our movie club pick this week was Lady Snowblood, so we hope you watched it. If not, tune in for the convo anyway. And as always, you are so encouraged to jump in on the chat, to speak with us, to ask for recommendations, to whatever. The only rules here are don't be a dick, don't judge people for not having seen something, and don't judge movies or television that you haven't watched because you don't have an opinion yet. Other than that, it's a free-for-all of movie conversation. We love having you here. This is all about community. This is all about that vibe of being in a video store, walking up. Hopefully the clerks are kind-hearted people and not pretentious windbags, and you just talk about movies with them. So, with that in mind, welcome.
Did somebody say pretentious windbag?
And Stephanie is here to fill our quota. This is a good-looking frame tonight. I feel like our lighting looks nice. Check out your new shirt you just got.
Yeah.
You look hip.
Thanks. Jason is back, and this is the one you've been screaming for.
That's the one with Crispin Glover in it, right? No. Crispin Glover.
The final chapter?
I think so. The final chapter. I know that it's got Corey Feldman in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we typically start the show off figuring out what you watched, what we watched. I know that we have a short list of things. I think we watched all of these together. That's kind of rare.
We did.
Yeah, so we'll have both something to say. Normally, it kind of breaks down, whereas, like, I might stay up later than you on certain nights and watch something. But this week we watched 4 features, including Lady Snowblood, our movie pick, and then 1 short film, which we did as a little appetizer for Lady Snowblood. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna start us off because it seems like we got a slow open here. Some of our regulars have not trickled in yet, and whatever. If you're watching this later too, like, feel free to leave a comment. You can catch archival episodes on youtube.com/babylion. But I want to say that lately, I've been doing this thing, Stephanie, where everything I watch, I'm like, what would this make a good double feature with?
Oh, gosh, I've been doing that, too.
Really?
Yeah.
It's been a weird, like, mental preoccupation of, like, I also love doing that with, when newer movies come out and they're super popular, like, I always want to tell people, like, and this is the video store clerk in me that wants to do this, but, like, oh, if you liked this, you should check this out.
Yeah.
And we have we have kind of a perfect opportunity for that because we watched Lady Snowblood, and it very much fits into that, like, oh, you like Kill Bill? Have you seen this?
Now, question for you.
Yes. Where'd that tea go?
Oh, it's right here.
Oh, thank you. Can I share it with you?
Sure.
Thank you.
If you were to recommend a double feature, for example, like of something like Lady Snowblood and Kill Bill 1 and 2,
right,
would you suggest watching the newer, inspired film or the inspiration first?
I think the newer one, or no, it depends. I don't think there's a right way to do it. Why? What's your take?
I don't know. I was just curious because I've seen, well, we'll get into it later, but like as someone who's seen Kill Bill 1 and 2 twice each, seeing Lady Snowblood was like very fascinating.
Yeah, I think
seeing
that
it after.
like there's something to be said for like, and I think that is honestly how most people organically come to these things.
Yeah.
Like, that was quite the pop. Okay. What's her name?
Alyssa.
Alyssa Edwards? That's your phone, boo. Mine's dead.
Excuse me.
I'll just
Steven Spielberg.
I'll go ahead and just say that in terms of like double features with newer stuff and older stuff, I think that most people organically come to it out of seeing the new thing first. Like, and that's the thing, like when people used to complain and say, Taryn, and we can get into a whole combo about this. I personally kind of think it's old hat. There's a little gnat on that. I personally think it's kind of an old combo that I'm not super interested in retreading, but the Tarantino conversation where people are like, he steals everything. And okay, sure, that's a very simplistic way to put it. But I think that my defense back in the day to that was, I wouldn't have seen this if he hadn't stole something from it. And I hadn't been excited by that technique and wanted to seek more out. And also, he's not exactly shy about his influences. He kind of tells everyone, this is what I took it from, go watch it.
Yeah.
He wants you to go watch it. So, if it was something like Kill Bill, Lady Snowblood, now I would say if you're interested in following that thread, the perfect double feature with Lady Snowblood would be Lady Snowblood and The Bride Who Wore Black. Because The Bride Who Wore Black is a Francois Truffaut movie about a bride whose wedding party is murdered on her wedding day, and she goes on a murderous rampage against the people that did it. And The Bride That Wore Black plus Lady Snowblood is Kill Bill. Those are the two biggest influences.
Yeah. What about Lady Snowblood 2?
Lady Snowblood 2 is, it's not as good. It's not as, like, mind-blowing in its techniques. It's more of, like, you like the first one, here's more of Miko Kaji as this character slicing people up.
So, The Bride Who Wore Black is based on the graphic novel and not affiliated with this movie?
The Bride Who... where'd you get graphic novel?
Isn't Lady Snowblood not
The Bride Who Wore... You actually, if you scooch a little to your left, I might be able to find it. Uh-oh. We'll see if it's in here. These are stacked up. Hong Kong...
Yeah, maybe it's not a graphic novel. Isn't it like a...
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about how Lady Snowblood might be based on a manga?
Yeah, a manga.
I don't know. I got that vibe from it as well, but oh, come on. Really? I'm going to tear through this whole drawer and it's not any of these? Okay, fine.
I think it is. I think that's where the animation comes in and the blood splatter and stuff like that.
Yeah, that totally tracks. Did you do some research on that? Because I have not looked into that at all.
No, front page of looking up the trying to figure out.
Sorry, I made you move for no reason.
Wow.
The Bride Who Wore Black is a Francois Truffaut movie from France in the 70s. So there's no manga or graphic novel. It's just a Truffaut movie. This is probably based on a manga, but I don't know. I mean, it tracks. Let's see.
I think it is.
Yeah, Japanese manga was in 1972.
In Playboy.
In Playboy. 1973. So this was like the year after. Yeah, there you go. I mean, that totally tracks. And we'll get into it more with our movie club stuff, but Lady Snowblood is very much a movie about storytelling. Like, the manga influence, the written word, the fact that a writer is in it and documenting it. It's a very meta movie for its time.
It is.
But
it's not that time yet.
It's not that time yet. But no, to your point, double features. I want to talk about, like...
Debbie Feaches?
Yeah, because...
Why do I keep...
I don't know. You need to hydrate, girl. You give me some misophonia. I'm just joking.
Sorry.
You're fine. I'm totally fucking with you.
Sorry for all my Misa-honeys out there.
Misa honeys. What up, Wedge?
What up, Wedge?
It is awesome. Bride Who Wore Black is a great movie.
I'd love to watch that.
It's really fun. And, Truffaut always got shit from... I don't know, the art intelligentsia, and from Godard especially, who used to write him letters about how he sucked and then asked to borrow money to shoot his next movie. They had a love-hate relationship, Godard and Truffaut. But they very much represent the two kinds of French filmmaking from that era. Godard is trying to break cinema and rebuild it in whatever way commentary he wants to make, because he's an essayist and an artist above all else. Whereas Truffaut loved Spielberg, was friends with Spielberg, is in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and both of them were being inspired by the same era of Hollywood filmmaking, of like gangster movies and sci-fi movies from the 50s, but Godard wanted to say, well, let's break it all apart and throw everything at the wall and make art out of it, and Truffaut wanted to be like, I'm kind of in the new wave, but I like telling stories. And so sometimes Truffaut gets hated on. Personally, I think a few of his movies are a little corny, but Bride That Wore Black is a really fun, straightforward revenge story.
Sounds great.
The thing that made me think about, like, when you see new movies, so here's a fun game to play. Maybe for every movie we talk about tonight, we can try to, like, figure out what a double feature would be for it.
Okay.
I want to say that with newer things, the two things that come to mind for me are when I saw Birds of Prey, or The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. I thought this would make an awesome double feature with Switchblade Sisters.
Yeah.
It's like freewheeling punk girl gang shit.
For sure.
And when I saw Parasite, I thought High and Low. Have you ever seen High and Low?
No, I think you've talked about it on the stream before.
I talked about it last week because we wanted to talk about maybe doing a Kurosawa pick for Movie Club.
Yeah.
And High and Low is like the most on the nose, not in a bad way, but the most like precise movie about class divide from that era in Japanese filmmaking, and just very much like would be a really good fit with Parasite.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just sometimes think, and that I feel like, not to get on a high horse, there's really no high horse, not to sound pretentious or esoteric or anything, but I feel like that's kind of like the job of a video store clerk, is to be able to say, you like this, here's more joy for you, and not to do it coming from a place of like, let me prove what I know, because whatever, who gives a shit, that's masturbatory, but to say, you maybe aren't aware of this movie that's 40 years old that you're gonna fucking love, and anyway, I find that very fun. So there. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say hello, Wedge, and hello to those of you joining the chat. We are in the What Did You Watch segment of You Are in a Video Store, so please drop in the chat what you watched this week, and we will discuss. Period. Sounded like there was going to be something after that. We will discuss. Maybe let you know if we have a good double feature idea for you.
When this show started, it was really just a way in quarantine to hang out and talk about movies, but I kind of framed it, and like when it first was started, I framed it as specifically like, tell me what you like and I'll try and give you a recommendation. Like, I was trying to be the human algorithm for people who were stumped scrolling through Netflix and Hulu and had no idea to pick. I was trying to be there like, you feed me this info and I'll tell you the perfect thing for you to watch. I love doing that. Obviously the show has evolved past that, but I'm going to try and touch back into that a little tonight.
I like that.
Yeah, and I know that I got a few DMs from some of our regulars. I won't name them because, I don't know, feels weird to be like, people DM me, they weren't making it. But 2 or 3 people said they had busy nights and weren't going to make it. So we might have a slower night.
That's
but
fine.
It's wonderful to have you here, Wedge. I don't know if Abby's with you, but if she is, hello, Abby, as well. And we can go ahead and jump in on what we watched, Stephanie.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Well, first of all, I didn't even do this on purpose. I really didn't.
Oh my god! That is so funny.
Crazy!
Oh.
Sorry. I'm so excited. I'm in too deep. I'm sorry. What up? And with Sadie.
Oh, yay.
Aw. Good evening, Munson, Jay, Watch Lady Snowblood, and Promising Young Woman and Wonder Woman 84.
Wow. Promising Young Woman has been on the list.
We should watch that this week.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 84. Let's start there. Well, what did you think of let's table our Lady Snowblood talk. What did you think of those movies? I've only seen one of them. I feel like we talked about Wonder Woman 84 on the stream. What are your thoughts 3 months out? Because it's been a while. I think we watched that back in Austin.
Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot. I barely remember it.
Well, that might be telling. I think that and Munson?
Munson J.
Munson J. I can never read the red ones. The blue ones I can read.
And you have your glasses on and everything.
I know, it's weird.
Here, let me do a little bit of this.
Oh, that is amazing.
Look at that. A little bit of Apple Plus.
I love the Apple Plus. So Munson J, let us know what you thought of Wonder Woman 84. I think the fact that you don't really remember it is pretty telling. I feel like that movie is pretty summed up in the trailer.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these... Go on. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's, I feel like it's there's absolutely nothing wrong with that movie, in my opinion.
Really? Wonder Woman 84?
I feel like, look, okay, I remember when we were talking about this on the stream originally, my opinion was meh. And we had a discussion about how with the internet, especially in the age of the internet and everyone having an opinion, you can't just feel like okay about something anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have a strong opinion. You have to hate it. You have to love it. That movie was like, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was a fine movie.
Okay, Jerry.
It was fine.
You know,
it was a fine movie.
The thing about hating is that hating requires energy.
Yeah.
I don't have
energy for that.
But don't you think that, like, the movies I've hated in my time, like, I feel like I used to hate things more because I was younger and I had more energy to spend emotional labor talking about something I didn't like.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 84, I will say I disagree with you saying there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's a bad movie.
Well, look, by that I mean it is fine. It's entertaining in some ways and bad in other ways. To me, that doesn't stir up anger inside of me or like passionate feelings. It's just sort of like, it wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. There were a few things I liked, but overall it was just like...
Yeah, I mean, look, okay. Munson said agreed it's perfectly fine for what it is.
Chat blown up is...
There you go. So, like, I would... Looking back at that movie, what I recall is, first of all, it's got about 35 minutes it doesn't need. Second of all, the wishing rock thing is a fine... I mean, whatever. It's a comic book. I remember talking about this at the time. Like, I'm not going to take issue with a magical MacGuffin like that, because whatever. However, it does... The script writes itself into a corner by having the whole world wish and the whole world have to do something.
Right.
Felt particularly cynical in an age of COVID to have this movie imply that collective action for the collective good would somehow ever work. Because we see every day that it does not, every restaurant you drive by. That said, my problem with this movie was that it didn't have any passion. It didn't feel like it cared that it existed. It felt like, okay, we have the Selena Kyle narrative from Batman Returns. Kristen Wiig's wonderful. We'll put her in that role. She'll shine in it. Pedro Pascal as essentially like this Faustian Trump character, like far more sympathetic than the real world Trump could ever be, but ultimately a villain. He was my favorite part about this movie. It was fascinating to watch every moment. And then I just am not like... I think the first Wonder Woman worked because it was an origin story, and origin stories will take you so far because... they're satisfying, their structure is, and this one was not like, you want to see the second movie be like an expansion of this character's emotional reality. Did not feel like that way for Diana for me.
Yeah.
Nor do I think that, I'm forgetting the actress that plays her. I don't think she's talented enough to capture the range of a character like this, honestly. She's also a Zionist and kind of a dick, so whatever. And I might have that word wrong, Zionist. By that I mean she is like... very racist towards Palestinians and has been open about that. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out my ass here. I've heard bad things about her. Maybe I shouldn't be throwing.
I don't have.
Anyway, I've heard she's problematic. Anyway, I just think this movie didn't have the oomph, and I think Patty Jenkins is such a talented director. This movie felt like DC Warner Brothers studio influence all over the place.
Yeah, I feel like my more specific thoughts are coming back. Overall, a meh. I really wanted there to be like lots of pop and lots of color and like really lean into that 80s mall aesthetic, which we don't really get, which was disappointing. Overall, the movie is like pretty dark and I'm not just talking like tonally, visually. It's very drab. I really wanted it to be poppy 80s fun. And then the body possession stuff really made me super uncomfortable.
I forgot about like the rape subplot.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's wrong.
So those are the things that really stood out to me. But again, overall, it is not something that I'm going to waste my energy being angry over or getting on Reddit or so. I don't know what people do when they're mad about a movie, but
Reddit and Twitter. I will say I Googled Wonder Woman Zionist, and the first hit I got was Wonder Woman is your Zionist white feminist hero. This movie wasn't made for women in mind. It's made for women who can ignore certain atrocities that don't directly affect them. Now, that was in relation to the first movie. So, what are we going to do? Gal Gadot, there's a lot to be said out there. Now, I personally don't know enough to weigh in, other than that I've had several friends whose politics I trust tell me that she is problematic. Whatever.
All right. Well, let's see what the chat has to say.
Okay, so let's go back all the way to Wedge. I got a hell of a lot of shade from Vinny and Nate for saying that though I thought the movie was flawed, I liked the story, and overall I enjoyed watching it at the time. I don't think I disliked watching it. Thinking back, unfortunately, my biggest gripe is that it's poorly directed, which is a big flaw and a big red flag since she's directing Rogue Squadron. Not excited about that. Munson says the Palestinian kid rescue scene was a big yikes. I forgot about that they do the white savior thing in this movie. Mm-hmm. It just feels very tone deaf, I think.
Oh, also, I think we maybe skipped a comment from Munson J up there.
Which is?
Before the perfectly fine for what it is. Did we see that?
Oh, yeah, I saw it and kind of integrated it in my comments, but I didn't show it to you. The fact that it was overstuffed and that these two actors were the standouts.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Poorly directed. Some scenes were pretty, but direction was all over the place. Yeah, and the thing is, I think Patty Jenkins... See, the thing is, I'm not worried about Rogue Squadron. I think Patty Jenkins is a great director. I think the first Wonder Woman shows that.
Wasn't this movie, like, on and off the cutting room floor? Wasn't there a lot of, like, weird... Weren't there a lot of weird issues with, like, re-edits?
Very possibly. Now, what did she do before this? I remember... Huh, interesting. Monster. 17 years ago. 18 years ago, Monster. Watch out, Wedge. Well, if there's anyone who I want to be satisfied by a Rogue Squadron movie, it's the person with a Wedge Antilles reference in their username. He's part of Rogue Squadron.
I could pick that up pretty...
I have not loved the Star Wars movies of late, and this is probably... Great job, nerds, a.k.a. Vinny. This is something we could wax on, but I kind of feel like I want to save it because we've been talking... You still haven't seen Rise of Skywalker. Mm-mm. And we got this box set not too long ago, and I still want to do a 9-movie... Like, I still want to watch through all of them. Mm-hmm. It's funny that you bring up the...
I was just like, do I have to? No shade. But...
It's not satisfying. It's not good. It actually might be, just because Star Wars demands such an emotional investment of you, it might be one of the few moments in which you have the energy to be angry at a movie being bad.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I felt about Rogue One.
Wedge! Worst movie you've ever seen.
What, really, Wedge? Come on. The worst movie you've ever seen? That is, I mean, like, I respect you swinging for the fences on that.
Yes, like, not backing down.
Fair enough. I mean, have you seen The Room? Which I love. I love The Room.
Yeah, I feel like that's different.
But is it? Is it? This is a question because I actually saw Glowcat mentioning, I was talking about with Glowcat, or was I? I saw them post somewhere where they were saying, like, what is the worst movie you've ever seen? And, like, is it something big that's disappointed you versus something that was actually terribly made? Is it different? I mean, then again...
Yeah, I feel like it's different.
Okay.
I feel like those are two different things.
Because of, like, maybe, I mean, to be fair, if you want to take into consideration... You could kind of prorate the badness quality, because you could say something like, okay, The Room is made by someone who is mentally ill, but he had millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So maybe let's move on from that. Let's say a really bad movie, and you're like, okay, they shot this with $20,000 in the desert over a weekend, and it's terrible. It's the worst movie ever made. But then maybe it deserves to be, maybe like what they did with what they had deserves to be held up here. Yeah. Maybe the fact that Star Wars had literally like billions of dollars to make this work and still floundered it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but at the same time, I feel like you can make a good movie without a budget, and you can make a terrible movie with, $5 billion.
The $5 billion movie.
$5 billion.
Wedge says in this case it's both because it not only ruins the sequel trilogy that it's a part of, but also shits on the original trilogy. It does come close to, like, fucking up a 40 to 50 year epic by ending it on the stupidest possible note. I will say.
So why do I need to watch it again?
Because you should
to be a
see...
completionist?
Because it's Star Wars, you should see it. I don't know. I guess you don't need to.
Okay.
I just want to rewatch all through. That's a good point, Wedge. I just want to, and I hear you and I validate your opinion. I'm not, like, I don't really disagree with you. I just want to watch through them all again because, first of all, I love the prequels, unabashedly. Obviously, the original trilogy is gospel. And then I think you'd be interested in at least seeing what they do with the story in the new ones.
Yeah.
That said,
that's fair enough.
If you want to leave it, man, if you want to leave this story at Darth Vader's body burning on a funeral pyre on the forest moon of Endor with Ewoks celebrating the explosion of the second Death Star, that's the end of Star Wars. In my book, that's the end of the Star Wars story, and the sequel trilogy is like a fun idea of what maybe could have happened next. Mm-hmm. It doesn't need to be canon in your brain.
What's the worst movie you've ever seen?
A Serbian film.
Oh, right. You hate that movie. You think it's garbage.
I actually have energy to hate it because I think it's bad for the world that it exists.
I've never seen it.
Don't see it. I don't recommend it to a soul. I think that it should be... I won't say I think art should be destroyed ever, but I think that it makes the world a worse place through its existence. And I hate the edgelord embracing that it's gotten by torture porn fans of horror who just want to see a fucked up thing on screen. It's like, I get it. I was 16 too. I watched Martyrs and Irreversible and all the fucked up stuff, but at least that stuff thought it had a point. Serbian film only exists to be cruel. Still haven't watched it. Can't stomach cannibal movies, Solo, and even the Human Centipede films.
Oh yeah, Munson. When Human Centipede came out, I didn't see it, but I just thought to myself, why? Why?
See, Human Centipede, to me, I haven't seen them, but to me, it's like such a playful, silly idea and such a playful, silly horror concept that it feels harmless. It's gross.
But to me, I feel like there is a difference between, like, this sort of playful, silly, disgusting tradition in horror, and then what I feel like Human Centipede was trying to genuinely be, like, traumatizing and shocking and disgusting.
Maybe. And
so I just thought, I don't know. And to be fair, I've never seen it. I never had any desire to see it. I just thought that sounds like a really disgusting concept for just period.
See, I thought it looked silly. And I thought it looked kind of fun and silly, but I never caught it. And the interesting thing is the sequel, Human Centipede Part 2, is about someone who's such a big fan of the original. It takes place in our world, and it's about someone who's such a fan of the original movie that they try and recreate it in real life. Like, it's... I don't know. I personally... Well, you're judging things you haven't seen, first of all.
I know, that's fair.
Second of all, I am interested in it. Third of all, Wedge said they kind of enjoyed it. I've actually heard a lot of people say, a lot of film fans say that Human Centipede is actually a really fun B horror concept. Well,
okay, to be fair, for those of you who have been watching the stream for a long time, you know that I am fairly new to the horror genre in general. It took me a really long time to get into it. I think in the last 3 years, I've seen more horror than I've seen my entire life. There's no question. And at that time, when it came out, what was that, like 2000?
If I had to guess, I'd say 2010.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think.
2012?
I mean, yeah, around there.
Okay.
Beginning of the teens.
Anyways, I guess maybe I was a different person then, and I had a different stomach for, what I wanted to watch and what I had watched, so who knows?
I mean, that's fair. Look, no one has to watch anything, and if something's not for you, it's not for you. I just know that, see, I agree with you, Wedge. It is fun to see, like, a controversial movie in theaters, and I think that it is fun to see something that courts controversy. I also think that it's art's right to shock and confront and scare us and be gross for grossness' sake. A Serbian film, to me, stands in a separate category because it really has no creative juice. It is simply like if a gross, terrible person told you the most fucked up thought they had, and you were like, who are you? What is the point of this?
Yeah.
Whereas Centipede, I don't know. I want to quickly jump. And speaking of that, Wedge, I actually saw Serbian film in theaters. I reviewed it. I saw it as a critic. It's the only movie I've ever given like a 0 out of 10 score to, because I think it's trash. But let's scroll back a little bit to the others, because I want to address something real quick, because I think that it's interesting how we sometimes do lump things into like, these movies are shocking, therefore they're part of the same cloth. But I would say, I wanna tell you that, like, I think that Cannibal Holocaust, which I believe is what you're probably referring to with the cannibal movies thing here, that's the big one, right? And Salo, or 120 Days of Saddam, are actually two really great movies. Now, Cannibal Holocaust includes some stuff that I would say giant fucking content warning to anybody who ventures.
I'm gonna hydrate.
And certainly a lot of those cannibal movies are cruel for cruelty's sake. But it's an interesting offshoot from the zombies that were happening at the time, and also just like a cheap way to do Italian zombie horror in a different way. The reason I like Cannibal Holocaust, I've seen it a few times. Yes, that is a movie that originally I came to because I came to it because I heard it was controversial and shocking, and I was young, and that's what I wanted. And I had a phase, actually, with one of my most, like, actually, one of my friends who currently programs and writes about archival films in New York. He and I had this phase in high school where we watched all this stuff. Cannibal Holocaust and Salo were two of those movies. Cannibal Holocaust paved the way for the found footage film. There wouldn't be, like, a Blair Witch Project without it. Its storytelling device is interesting. And it also does make a point about how, like, a heavy-handed point, but a point about how white colonists are the true evil, and kind of flips the script of what most cannibal movies at the time were doing, which was making the indigenous people seem savage and making the white people seem victimized. Cannibal Holocaust flips that in an interesting political sense for its time. Salo, I truly believe to be one of the great film masterpieces. It's not for everybody. I don't recommend. And by the way, Cannibal Holocaust, if you took that as a recommendation, please note, giant content warning. Like I said, there is real cruelty towards animals in it. It is not fun to watch. I don't condone it at all. I honestly don't think the movie gains anything from those scenes being in it. I think it's honestly super unfortunate they're in the movie because they take away from something that otherwise I think is pretty thoughtful and well done. Salo. Salo is often seen as an evil movie, a movie that will corrupt you. But to know Pasolini's career is to know that Pasolini wanted to directly confront and challenge concepts of morality. And Salo is, the concept of it is, what if the fascists won? What if the fascists were the ones who decided what our values were? And so Salo is a movie about hell. It is a movie about all concepts of morality, and Christian morality in particular in Rome, being inverted to celebrate power and degradation and abuse instead of grace and sacrifice and martyrdom. For that reason, Salo is actually, I think, one of the most potent commentaries on what a truly fascist society can look like. I think it's a really important film, and while I would say you shouldn't watch it without a very strong stomach and a very strong coming into it academically, I will say I think it's a worthy movie that oftentimes just gets bandied about as sensationalist trash, and I don't think it is. Anyway, that's my rant on those. Sorry, y'all, to go off the rails here. And Munson, yeah. Anyway. Munson, I totally hear you. I'm not trying to say go watch these things. Like, if it's gonna make you feel awful inside, then avoid it. Live your life happily. There's millions of movies that you could watch instead. But those are my thoughts. Okay, I'll shut up now. Now I'm gonna go hydrate.
You can have some of mine.
Oh, thanks. Also, Salo is the rarest DVD of all time, and the crown prize possession of my collection.
Yeah. It's in a lockbox.
It's here. It's the only DVD I've ever put in a plastic sleeve. This used to be valued at $900 on eBay. It's slightly less now. I found it early in pandemic. It's my crown jewel, my holy grail of the collection. Me and my high school girlfriend, who helped me collect Criterions, used to hunt on eBay every week for this, knowing that there's hundreds of thousands maybe of bootlegs of this, and there's a few ways to tell if it's the original. And I found this very, very luckily for a very good price. Anyway.
Gotta get those eBay alerts.
That and this are the two super rare Criterions that I have that are like the like multiple $100 crates. Okay.
All right, so shall we scroll back up to see what else? We talked about Wonder Woman 84. Oh, Promising Young Woman?
Promising Young Woman, yeah.
No spoilies.
What did you think, Munson?
But let us know what you thought.
Yeah, also, I did a whole, like, Britney thing because I thought we were moving into what we watched, and so just remember to keep the thread alive.
Right.
Crazy! Okay, well, Munson, we would love to know your thoughts on Promising Young Woman. No rush. Wedge only watched Lady Snowblood. We had a pretty slow movie week as well.
Mm-hmm.
How's she doing, Wedge? How is it? I know y'all are very new parents. How has it been? I mean, the fact that you guys are, like, tuned in, like, with us on, either in the background or on the screen, like,
so cute.
is, I'm very honored that we can even grab a minute of your time during this time.
That's wonderful.
That is wonderful. That makes my heart very happy. Okay, well, just gonna give Munson, like, first of all, you're not required to say anything. Okay, here it is. On second rewatch, some cracks in the armor, so to speak, would have benefited from being a lot meaner and struggle with the ending. This is a really interesting, that's like a perfectly written way to not spoil anything, but critique it and make me even more excited about watching it.
Yeah, same.
Now my curiosity is thoroughly piqued. I want to watch that this week for sure. Piqued. It's not only peaked, but it has peaked. Well, thank you, Munson. Perfect. Okay, what did we watch this week? Crazy. First of all, it was Stephanie's birthday on Saturday.
It was.
So we had a birthday week last week. We went through the week, kind of trying to have like a little treat every night, and we're still like settling in here. So we watched some comfort food, and we were like, what should we watch?
Well, I was having some birthday blues.
It happens.
Love to ya if you get the birthday blues. Depression does not take a holiday. So I was having some birthday blues, and I thought, man, I just want to watch something nostalgic and fun and poppy and like, yummy, sugary. And we were kind of bouncing ideas back and forth, and
we very nearly watched this bad boy.
Yes,
which we probably will watch this week.
Yeah, because Bring It On is
incredible. And did you know this is directed by Peyton Reed, the guy who did Down with Love and Ant-Man 1 and 2? We discovered that upon looking at the back of the box, and we're like, no wonder, we love this guy. I love this guy's movies.
But I think we were kind of like going down that early aughts rabbit hole, and I was like, man, what should we watch? We sort of talked about Romeo and Michelle. Again, one we've both seen multiple times, and I was like, I feel like Drive Me Crazy is one of the first early aughts, like, rom-coms of this style.
Now, technically, not to pop...
I said one of the first.
No, I know. And by that, you would be so correct, because it's actually from 1999.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying it's like leading into that whole craze of like
I got you.
Moving into the aughts, where it's like... Although, when did She's All That come out?
See, She's All That is 98. Yeah, 99. It's 99. It's same year.
Same year.
And I want to say that, like, I think that this is actually more of, like, a straight-up thread through the entire 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like maybe Drive Me Crazy starts to, like, honestly, I just feel like it's part of its movement and moves into the aughts. And then I think the quality in these movies kind of dips in the aughts, or maybe they become a little too focused on wish fulfillment fantasies instead of romance.
Yeah.
Whereas Drive Me Crazy, I feel like, reminds me a lot of She's All That, which is also 99.
It's basically She's All That, but flipped.
It also reminds me of 10 Things I Hate About You.
For sure.
In that it's very Taming of the Shrew, like two people. It's a screwball comedy. So, like, it's two people who hate each other who end up loving each other, right? Like, I feel like that...
It's very Shakespearean.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Shakespearean comedy. It's also like...
Shakespearean with
it
yellow
happened one night.
Oakleys.
Yellow Oakleys. I feel like this is like... I feel like Drive Me Crazy. Okay, the movie was Drive Me Crazy.
Okay, spoily. Newsflash. It was Drive Me Crazy.
And real quick, want to address Munson. Thank you for mentioning Miss 45. That's a giant tinted window on my experience, and I just opened up a tab for it because I'm going to watch Miss 45. I don't know why I've never seen it. I will watch it this week.
I'd like to watch that with you.
Maybe we can do that in Promising Young Woman.
Ooh.
Thank you, Munson.
Speaking of double features.
There you go. And okay, so Drive Me Crazy, coming out of, like... It's interesting to think about these, like, end of the millennium things, because I feel like Drive Me Crazy, the reason why I thought it was like, I brushed it off for so long. I think the reason why it's not talked about a lot is not because it's not good, but because it just suffers from being surrounded by things that were doing what it was doing a little better. I think that She's All That did it a little better. 10 Things I Hate About You definitely does it better. That movie's kind of incredible.
It is.
So this movie felt like what do you call, a minor work for the genre.
However, it really holds up. It's a very pleasant rewatch.
Fun.
It was super fun.
And this is going back to our thing about, like, something can be meh or solid. I think this is a really solid movie, but I don't say that to be disparaging. I say, like, this movie did not knock my socks off. There weren't moments in it that I didn't see coming. But I also, like, it wasn't the sort of, like, shallow rom-com that young Adam thought it was.
Yeah.
It had a heart. It had some moments of very good writing.
I was going to say, there were a few moments where I was like, oh,
yeah.
that was good writing.
Right? Really surprised me. And it's poppy and fun. It's tight 90 minutes. What's not to like? I really liked this movie a lot.
Yeah.
Melissa Joan Hart is a really interesting lead because she's a type that we don't get that much. Like, I will say this, like, generally when it comes to your male and female leads in teen movies like this, there's a sort of, like, archetype that your main character falls into. Like, Can't Hardly Wait is fun because it plays with, like, what if there's a million archetypes and they all party, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Claire Fisher.
Oh, yeah.
We've been watching a lot of 6 Feet. God, I love Claire. Anyway, like, the main character, Guy in Drive Me Crazy, is archetypal. He is, like, the kind of lazy, like underachiever, like, surfer guy, and he gets transformed. But it almost feels like, I think one thing this movie does suffer from is that I never really feel like I knew who people were intrinsically.
Yeah.
I think the dialogue was good, but the characters felt like ciphers. The characters felt like empty vessels in which I could put whatever I was thinking. The reason I say that is Melissa Joan Hart in particular is an interesting lead because when the movie started, I totally thought that it was like, that she was like a nerdy overachiever. And then she, like, casually references having sex and drinking like it's no big thing. And I'm like, oh, so you're maybe, like, more of a Cher type where, like, you've, like, sparked up pot and had some drinks and, like, fooled around, but you're, like...
Sparked up pot.
Like, well, that's how Cher would put it. I mean, Cher, you know, not the Cher.
Honey, have you been sparking up pot again?
Look, it is quite one thing to spark up a J at a party. It is quite another to stay blazed all day. Okay? Just saying, Cher. I want to watch that.
Yeah, it's one of my faves. well, never mind. Melissa was.
Well, I'm just saying, like, who is this character? Who is Melissa Joan Hart in this? I thought she was a nerd. I think I was trying to pigeonhole her, and by the end of the movie, I realized that I never really understood what her values were. There are times when she's incredibly selfish and conniving. There are times when she's very giving, but I didn't feel any sort of an arc for her. She felt weirdly static to me.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Maybe it's just Melissa Joan Hart.
I think she's a little one note.
I think maybe that's it.
I mean, and also the only other like big thing she did was, I mean, obviously Clarissa. We know her from Clarissa. It's like sort of hard in my mind to detach her from
Clarissa.
Clarissa.
We also know her from Can't Hardly Wait as Yearbook Girl.
Yeah.
In that, she's playing an archetype.
Yeah.
And she is going outside of what we know her for.
Yeah.
This did feel like, it felt like Clarissa trying to be a girly girl, and you're like, that's not who you are.
Yeah. I think that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Because she's so, they make her so much more buttoned up in this, and I'm so used to her being like, tropical fish earring fashion icon.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. It was buttoned up, but then not. I was like, who are you?
Yeah.
Are you supposed to be our, like, I don't know, and maybe that's me expecting a teen movie to give me stereotypes. Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't. Okay, I'm just going to pretend that Munson's comment, it's no Miss 45, but nothing is really, is in reference to every movie we discuss. So yeah, I agree. Drive Me Crazy is not a Miss 45. But yeah, really fun. So
bless you, June.
Bless you, baby girl. What we try to do every time is, we don't do star ratings or ratings out of 10 or thumbs up or anything. We just do, would we recommend it? And if so, to whom? So I want to do that, but also, as we talked about earlier, I want to try and come up with what good double features would be for everything.
Oh.
So let's both do that for this. And if anyone watching at home has an idea for what a good double feature would be, or if you like or dislike adamantly any of the things we're talking about, chime in. So Drive Me Crazy, I would recommend to anyone who wants a dose of poppy 90s escapism, anyone who likes teen movies, really generally, but especially teen movies from the 80s and 90s era, which was kind of their golden age. If you like Can't Hardly Wait, and you want something that is kind of that fun, and 10 Things I Hate About You, consider this to be like the kind of bronze medalist in that competition. Still worthy of your time, of your 85 minutes, but don't expect to be blown away. And I would say, for that reason, I think I would double feature this with, let's see here. What would I double feature this with? Start with an episode of Clarissa, watch Drive Me Crazy, and then watch 10 Things I Hate About You.
I think that's nice.
That's my little program.
Yeah. I think you're right that this is like a silver bronze kind of in the genre, but still has some really nice standout moments in the writing. Definitely recommend to anyone who is looking for like a nostalgic, fun little romp. Mm-hmm. I don't really have a double feature. I'm trying to think like.
It's hard, right?
Well, I feel like it's hard with something like Drive Me Crazy because.
What about? Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Hello, Holdenwood.
What up, Holdenwood? Hello.
Because it's like, yeah, is Drive Me Crazy like the appetizer and then you move on to the main course?
I think so. But I was going to say, what about your staff pick last week? So it's like kind of a perfect double feature, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. You know what? That would be mine. Okay. Drive Me Crazy and my staff pick from last week. It Happened One Night, which is like the quintessential butting of heads rom-com. If you haven't seen it, watch it today.
Seriously, that's one of the best movies ever made. That's a top 100 for sure. And if you like any rom-com that you've ever seen, watch it. Hello, Holden. We were just doing the What Did You Watch section. Feel free to chime in. It's very good to have you back. Missed seeing you in the chat. Okay, next thing we watched was F for Fake. Let me see if I can pull this out. I think it's sitting on top right here. It is, right next to our Sex and the City box set. F for Fake, the Orson Welles movie from 1973? 72? Okay, so F for Fake, Stephanie, this was one of my favorite movies in high school. I've seen it a handful of times. there's a really, if you can hear the scritching, our cat is pooping. There's a really good introduction on this disc by Peter Bogdanovich, where he kind of provides some context on this movie and how Orson Welles thought of it as an essay movie. I think that's what makes it such an easy watch, is that the whole time Orson Welles is talking to you, being like, so then I did this, and check this out.
Yeah, I was trying to do, like, how would you...
I don't know, I'm bad at Orson Welles. That's a hard impression to do. But an essay movie, a mockumentary slash documentary slash essay. Peter Bogdanovich in his introduction was saying that this movie didn't really have any peers and had never really been replicated in the kind of genre it was trying to invent of like the essay feature. But I think that it was interesting because that special feature on the Criterion disc was recorded about 15 years ago, and I think that Orson Welles would be quite interested, were he alive today, to see that YouTube and the YouTube video essayists have truly run with what he was doing here. I think he's doing it in maybe a much more artful way than like what we're doing, or even something as elegant as Every Frame a Painting, which is a wonderful web series. But I do think that like Orson Welles was ahead of his time in the way and what he saw for this particular like genre of documentary film.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting. It keeps you on your toes for sure. You follow this story down this rabbit hole, and it's sort of like, what is reality? What is conceived of? Because nothing is too far away from actual reality. So yeah, it was really great, really interesting. Definitely recommend.
Yeah, I am. One interesting, and by the way, real quick, Holden Wook rewatching 6 Feet Under the last couple of weeks, all season 1 and part 2. That is amazing. I don't know if you were here, if you happened to stop by the last couple of weeks. We are deep within a 6 Feet Under watch. We've been watching like 1 to 4 episodes a day. It's part of why we have less movies to talk about tonight. One of my favorite shows. It's my first time rewatching as well. God, I love that show. And we were just talking about Can't Hardly Wait, which has Claire Fisher in it as my favorite character, as the girl who hooks up with the white rapper, Seth Green's white rapper character. Yo, I got to have sex tonight. Love that character. 6 Feet Under, wonderful show.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
That's crazy. So you didn't even know. That is crazy. So
You
we're
didn't know?
truly linked up, mind melded. That is awesome. That is crazy. We're about halfway through season 3 right now. So we probably just beat you in the watch by like a week. That's crazy. That actually is kind of crazy and wonderful, and I think it's lovely.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop talking about F for Fake yet. F for Fake, there's a moment where Orson Welles says in it that he started from the top. He's talking about when he was a kid and he was touring through Ireland, doing sketches and paintings for farmers in exchange for food and lodging. And how he got his job telling people that he was, how he got his first job acting in Ireland by telling them he was a famous American Broadway actor. And he makes this joke about how he started at the top of the world and has been working his way down since. Peter Bogdanovich in his intro says this movie couldn't find a U.S. distributor, barely found a few festivals and hole in the walls to play in Europe, was a failure by all accounts. I think this movie is so fascinating. To think of it, something like this coming out today, you feel like, how could this be a failure? People would love this, eat it up. But I do think that Orson Welles has such a fascinating career that I think we could stand to dive into more, because he does have, it's like if you took the traditional story of rags to riches Hollywood story and you flipped it, like entirely flipped it. You make you make the movie that the American Film Institute has as their #1 best, greatest American film of all time.
When you're like 20.
When you're 20, and then when you're in your 60s and 70s, I forget how old he lived to, and you're dying, your last film credit is the voice of a robot in the Transformers movie, and you make this like weird indie and some failed features, like invert that, and you have such a success story. Started as a voice actor, made this weird experimental movie that no one really liked, but we got play in a couple movie houses. I wrote this movie called The Magnificent Ambersons and directed it, and it went pretty well, but not big. And then I made Citizen Kane, and boy, that fucking changed the world, and now I'm a famous star, and I died after making the greatest film masterpiece in American history, according to some. It is just so weirdly tragic that he indeed... and to the point about this movie, how he talks about himself being a charlatan the whole time. It really is interesting to see, like, oh, this is the guy who did the War of the Worlds broadcast, and maybe he has been tricking everybody the whole time.
Yeah.
And, like, how much did Greg Toland do, cinematographer on, I think I have that name right, on Citizen Kane, like, a lot of the things that pushed forward. Like, obviously, Orson Welles was a genius, but a really fascinating moment in his career, I think, is F for Fake, because it's this midpoint of a man who has achieved what everyone else could only dream of, reflecting on kind of his status of a man of the arts and esoteric knowledge, bandying about, talking to painters, kind of just living his life, drinking wine, and making people laugh with stories of how he tricked 1 million, people in New Jersey into fleeing for the hills, thinking Martians were attacking. If this movie feels like a long dinner party with an eccentric genius who was incredibly successful before you were born.
I couldn't put it better myself.
Anyway, I really love it. And okay, recommendation. Yes, I would recommend F for Fake to everybody, but especially if you're a fan of magic, if you're a fan of art history. This movie very much is about trickery, cinematic trickery, and very much about painting and the fine arts. I would say I would recommend this as a double feature with Certified Copy, which is because F for Fake is so much about art forgery. Certified Copy is also a movie about art forgery and the existential philosophical question of if this thing is identical to this thing, which is the true original. That's a brilliant movie, Certified Copy. I also think it would make for a really good double feature with Exit Through the Gift Shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be my staff pick. Or maybe I've already done it.
I think that was my staff pick.
Well, poopity toopity.
It's great. If you haven't seen Certified Copy.
F for Fake. Any other thoughts on this before we move on?
No, I think you pretty well covered it.
Well. Okay, Stephanie. Well, here's the big one. This is actually the last one we really want. Yeah. You ready to dive in?
Sure.
I'm going to be Exit Through the Gift Shop in theaters. It was so good. Agreed, Wedge. Have you seen it? Yeah?
I saw that in theaters, too. I saw it at the Draft House on my own in the middle of the day with a nice salad.
It sounds really nice.
It was lovely.
I miss doing that.
I so miss doing that. One of my favorite all-time things is going to a matinee by myself when the theater is half full or less. Mm-hmm. Seeing a movie on my own. Favorite.
Yo, I know I'm going to age myself here, but because everyone buys their tickets online and you can see how many people are there now. But there was nothing better than the feeling of before online ticketing when you show up at the box office and buy tickets for whatever you want. There's nothing better than showing up with a friend.
And no one else is there.
Walking into theaters and it's empty, yeah. And then you're always like, ugh! And then like one dude walks in 5 minutes after the movie starts and sits like 3 rows in front of you.
Like right in front of you, but like 2 rows down. You're like, really? Could you not? Like
he wants a central sound, okay? That's the dream. That's true, Holden Wook. A movie theater to yourself is the best. Yeah. Okay, well, before we get in, because we have one other thing we watched, but it was kind of a stop motion short from Japan that we watched kind of to lead us into Lady Snowblood. So let's save that for movie club. The other thing we watched, I have a little segue here, by the way.
Okay.
Earlier you were talking about Wonder Woman. We were talking about Wonder Woman 84 and the body swapping thing. Mm-hmm. Well, the next movie we have in this franchise is all about body swapping. And a lot of fans were very upset when it happened because they wanted Jason. But let's go ahead and talk about the last movie to bear the title Friday the 13th before the rights were lost and New Line Cinema bought the character, but not the title, Friday the 13th. And so New Line Cinema was not allowed to call their movies Friday the 13th movies, but they were allowed to call them Jason movies. So this is the last one before they become Jason movies.
How much money do you think they save by doing that?
Oh my god, I don't know. I wonder. Friday the 13th is a very generic title.
I know. I feel like...
I mean... It means what it means now, but when they started it... So it's like Halloween.
Yeah.
God, to be a filmmaker in the 70s. You know?
Yep.
I made a movie. It's called Walking.
It's called... Wait.
It will change the course of cinematic history.
I was literally going to make a joke and say, it's called Ghost. And then I was like, wait, there's a movie called Ghost. There is a movie called Ghost.
There is? Okay, Friday the 13th, Part 8. Now, your first time watching through all of these, for anyone who is unaware, let's pull the disc out. Friday the 13th, Part 8 is also known as Jason Takes Manhattan. So actually, the second in the franchise to have the name Jason in the title, after Jason Lives, which was their apology and reassurance to the crowd after replacing Jason with a normal dude with an axe in Part 5. Jason Takes Manhattan. One of the tagline for which is New York has a new problem. One of the most misleading marketing campaigns of all time, and a big reason why nobody liked this movie when it came out, is because people wanted to see Jason on a tear through the city streets of Manhattan, hurting people.
It's called a budget, people.
The first hour, most of this movie takes place on a boat with a packaged lunch of teens for Jason to tear his way through. That said, this is the first time I'd ever finished this movie.
Really?
I've seen all of these movies except this one all the way through, because I'll tell you what, when I was in high school and I did my first marathon through these, I fell asleep during this one and never had the energy to finish it.
Interesting. When we finished this, you turned to me and you said that was a bad movie, and I was like, I kind of liked it.
Well,
I actually think that this is weirdly one of the Friday movies that, like, well, I don't want to say definitively that I liked more, but I thought this movie was trying to do some interesting things, especially with the kills, like trying to, because the Friday movies are so formulaic, they're so beat for beat, you can almost like when it started and they started doing the flashback of, you know, this is the history of it, I like looked at him and I was like, oh, okay,
but they didn't go through the whole thing in this one.
No, they didn't.
They skipped
Usually
a bunch.
they do about a 10-minute,
yeah.
like literally, like 10 minutes of the movie. They're like, oof, all right, the opening of the movie's done. But I don't know, I kind of liked it. I appreciated, again, because the kills are, you know, the two bodies being stabbed together, like, you know, body being hung, like, there's so many things that you see over and over and over again. You're just waiting for those beats to get hit. I appreciated that they were trying to do something different, specifically with, like, overindulgence and drugs, and not, instead of just, I mean, I feel like it's usually so focused on sex and, like, death through sex, and this one had a lot to do with drugs, and they were trying to do something interesting. You know, the one girl who got killed with the mirror after doing cocaine, and then she's laying with her body, like, literally with her reflection right there in a mirror after she's been killed with a mirror, you know.
And to me, like, that is like someone saw a bunch of Italian horror movies, but like was like, how can I make this a little more heavy-handed? But that's not necessarily criticism. This is a giant franchise.
But that's what I'm saying, is like, they, you know, I appreciate them for trying. Mm-hmm. I do think it is like somebody being like, oh man, we're gonna get artsy with this one.
I would say I agree, and I hadn't thought of the sex thing. Also, it's funny, two of the kills you mentioned, two people being stabbed together and someone being hung, are both also kills in Lady Snowblood.
Mm-hmm.
But this one weird thing is, I love effects. I love gore effects. Especially playful, fun, not really trying to shock me gore effects. No one got
thrown through a window. Sorry.
No one got thrown through a window.
Oh, that's disappointing. See, that's one I missed.
And they could have done it through a porthole, too.
I know.
But, like, I think that for me, and I will say, yeah, when we finished this movie, my first thought was that wasn't good. But I'm willing to have my mind changed, because your fresh perspective on this whole franchise has been super fun to live vicariously through. And I think don't feel like you need to be sheepish about your enjoyment of this, because I'm totally willing to have my mind changed. The more that you talk about it, the more I realize I did have fun watching every part of this movie. The reason when it ended I thought that was bad is two things. One is not enough Manhattan. Mm-hmm. That's marketing. That's not necessarily the movie's fault. Change the title, change the tagline, we're probably in business. Call it Jason takes a long boat trip to Manhattan. 2, I love gore effects. This movie did a lot of, and I think this is it's
Cutaways.
weird. It's weird though to compare this to like something like Nightmare on Elm Street, because partly is budget, but then you also think, is it because they're trying to be so mainstream they don't want to alienate? But then it's like, well, the Nightmare franchise gets more disturbingly gory as it goes on.
Yeah, I mean, the Friday movies in general, do a lot of cutaways. They typically do, like, 2, maybe 3, like, more intricate practical effects or more detailed kills, and then the rest of them are just cutaways.
And the body count on this thing was kind of nuts.
Yeah.
I will say, I think this might be the biggest body count of any of the movies so far.
Really?
I don't know. It was a lot of people dead in this one.
Mm-hmm.
It was super poppy and entertaining. I will say also, like, I don't like to be the kind of guy who's, like, valuing the tech more than the movies, but this Blu-ray looked beautiful.
Yeah, it did.
There were some shots in New York that looked gorgeous.
Yeah.
And in the boat.
When the, what is that? Not the title screen.
Oh, the menu?
When the menu popped up, yeah.
Yeah, I actually tweeted that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I tweeted it.
Oh, you did. The
bisexual lighting.
I was like, how's that for bisexual lighting? I mean, you can
see it.
It doesn't look exactly
It's
the
like
same.
bisexual lighting with red added for the blood Jason will spill.
Yeah, it's a little more vibrant and purpley on the...
And for those who don't know,
Blu-ray.
bisexual lighting is blues and purples being used at the same time. I think actually on this channel, if you scroll down below the video you're watching of us, our bio pictures are both perfect examples of bisexual lighting.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed this one, honestly. I don't know. I thought it was trying to stay true to the tradition of the whole franchise while also attempting to do something a little different. And I think to your point about Italian horror influence, rings very true with like the mirror moment and the dance,
like the disco?
The disco moment.
Yeah, that was
like,
fun. Little
moments like that, yes, do feel very Italian.
And to your point about like the drugs, the Italian thing, like even last week we were talking about or a couple weeks, Italian horror, like getting into the 80s and like getting a little more rock and roll punky when we watch Demons.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you can see that. Also the drugs, like one thing we had noticed before in this franchise is what drug like you can tell what era it's coming from because it starts with like weed, then moves to alcohol, and now it's coke.
Yeah.
Because we're in the 80s.
Yeah, but also towards the end of the movie it moves into heroin.
That's right.
And also another kill where the person is punished in a way that speaks to the drug. I mean, he literally gets stabbed with the heroin needle. Right.
Okay, favorite kill in this movie? The one for me is the really good effects one that really kind of grossed me out, actually.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, another thing that stood out to me about this movie was I actually found the kills to be the most disturbing. There was a lot more, like, begging and pleading in this movie. Like, I think 4 separate kills are people, like very intense pleading and begging for their lives. And I was like, this is really hardcore compared to the other ones. Because the other ones are usually like, okay, whoop, there you go.
Yeah, for sure.
But definitely the hot rock.
That's the best. There's a sauna hot rock, like Jason presses the hot rock with such force. It was an interesting kind of gross thing about the effects in this movie. I did talk shit on this for not having enough effects. But one thing I feel like is also like, is this a lazy effect? Because it kind of worked, was how hollow everyone's bodies looked.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't any guts that came out or anything, It wasn't gory guts.
Yeah.
Grew, but it was like that rock in the chest looked good.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay. So I'd recommend this to any slasher fan. I would say it's a fun one.
Yeah, and just in general, like, as someone new to watching through the franchise, it's really fun. And also, I really like this franchise because we've been watching it on and off since last Halloween?
Whenever this box set came.
Was it
Yeah.
this past
one? Oh, yeah,
or
October 13th is how I remember the release date of this box set was October 13th.
But
last year.
Last year, like 2020 or 2019?
2020.
Okay, so we've been watching it on and off, and I've never felt lost or confused because those nice little recaps. So you can take your time moving through.
Yes. It's a real, I mean, you know, as a year between them when they first came out. I would say if I'm going to double feature this one, I have a joke answer and a real answer. My joke answer is you should watch this Jason Takes Manhattan with Muppets Take Manhattan. My real answer is, this is maybe pretentious sounding, but I think this would be a fun double feature to watch this first and then watch Roman Polanski's Knife in the Water, which is about two men, one of whom is married, one of whom is a drifter, and the wife on a boat at sea with one knife between them. Because if you want to like take the core concept of this, of like danger on the water with unsuspecting malevolent male presence, it would be a fun direction to see like the 80s poppy coked out version compared to the like Polish art house movie that Polanski made in the 60s.
Yeah, I think that's really fun.
Or Speed 2.
That's actually good. I like the idea of watching this and then watching like a giallo.
Yeah, it's when we were first watching through these, when we would like read a little bit about them, we actually discovered that a few of the kills in like the third or fourth, I think maybe this one, the fourth one, are actually direct references to old Bava kills. Mm-hmm. Like the two people having sex and the pole going through them.
Yeah.
That's from like, I think Blood and Black Lace.
I was going to say Blood and Black Lace would be a fun one.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well.
Which I think has been one of my staff picks.
It has. I need to take a quick pee break, I must admit.
Oh,
you mind watching the counter alone?
Oh, yeah, I can watch the counter.
All right, cool. All right, cool. Well, when I get back, maybe we can go into your, like, tease your new segment.
Sure.
You're wearing the shirt for it. It's time, and then we'll do new arrivals.
Sounds fun.
I'll be right back and stuff.
Okay.
Excuse me, I need to get through here. Okay, thanks, everybody. Pardon me.
Okay, so in video store tradition, we're thinking about ordering in Chinese takeout tonight. I'd like to know, drop it in the chat, let me know what your favorite Chinese takeout is. Because, you know, growing up in Texas, like, I feel like you don't really get a whole lot of, as Adam refers to it, like a greasy spoon or a, you know, just, I guess a bigger city style Chinese takeout place. Panda Express does not count. But since we moved here, there's like so many more options in LA, and I really want to start exploring some of those menu deep dives. So let me know if you have any suggestions in the chat. Also, this new thing that we're about to introduce is not really a segment. See, I think that's Adam's go-to. General Tso.
Oh yeah, General Tso and Crab Rangoon. That's the way to do it. I mean, that's my litmus test for any Chinese spot. And then if I like that, then I trust myself to order other things that might surprise me. But when I worked at That's for Entertainment in Iowa City, Iowa video store, it was across the street from a Chinese place called Taste of China. A small General Tso's chicken with a grape soda was $5.50. And I would run across the street, pay for it, come back, and then we'd get a rush. And I'd eat it about 45 minutes later.
Yeah, when it's nice and cold.
Taste of China. Yes, the greasiest, nastiest General Tso's chicken will do for me. Thank you, Holden Wook. Maybe this is an Iowa City boy thing, because, like, I am 100% there with you. Taste of China with its, like, gelatinous baked, like, corn syrup sauce. Put it in my veins. That's what I want. Yes, the greasiest, nastiest.
That sounds
absolutely.
good. I might give it a go. You know, I usually go like over here to like the pad thai or like a beef salad. Mm-hmm.
You're overthinking it.
I think I am.
It's like you go to the deli, get a cheeseburger, don't get the lobster. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, okay.
I mean a diner.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you do you, honey. But I'm gonna get. I wish Taste of China. Honestly, the restaurant I miss most in my entire life is not having Taste of China available to me. That was a go-to. And so cheap. Affordable, we'll say. We can order that Chinese food, though. You know what I can do is kind of be your, like, since you're going to kind of walk us through this next part.
Yeah.
If you have an idea of what you like from the menu, or we can, like, do a thing where I'll put in we're going to order, like, super video store style. We're going to order while we're open, and it's going to get here while we're open. Or maybe we should just wait and order it towards the end of the stream so we can eat it right after.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like our chewing noises might not be fun for everybody.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Real quick.
Yes.
Sorry.
Hey.
We've been doing a thing where during the what did you watch? A certificate? A certificate?
No.
We have been doing a thing that I enjoy. If this is not gonna stick, it won't stick. But we've been doing a thing that I think is really fun. Where during the what did you watch section, whatever comes to wherever like route we're going down, we ask for like your favorite. So in the past, my go-to example is always, what's your favorite kids sports movie? This one, let's narrow it down even more. I don't know how into the Friday the 13th franchise y'all are, but either that or Nightmare on Elm Street. Pick one of the big three ones, either Halloween, Friday, or Nightmare, and tell us your favorite entry from that franchise. So I will say my favorite entry in the Friday the 13th franchise is number 2. I think it's legitimately terrifying. The Jason with a bag over his head rules. The altar to his decapitated mom surrounded by her sweater and all the bodies at the end rules. I think it is the best in the franchise. Brutal, scary, great stuff. That's mine.
I gotta say Halloween. What?
Halloween 1?
Yeah. I think because I saw it in theaters.
Wait. Oh, the 7. Yeah. Wait, but like, is it okay? So if we pick our favorite from each franchise, Halloween, I will also say Halloween 1, but I also say H2O. I stand for, and then Nightmare. I will say my favorite Nightmare is Nightmare 3, Dream Warriors, with all the kids in the asylum.
Yeah. You know what? I think we're aligned perfectly on. I think those are all my picks too. Although I haven't finished the Friday franchise.
You're gonna love Jason X.
I'm
It's
excited.
So stupid and fun. I love it.
I think that who was talking about Jason X being their favorite a while ago?
Glowcat, maybe?
Or was it? Is that Jason? Is that the one where he goes to space?
Yeah.
Who was it? Maybe it was Glowcat.
Jason X is really fun and
I'm
has
excited.
no right to be as good as it is.
I'm very excited.
We could always Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X are the next 2 we have, and then we're done with this franchise. And then Freddy vs. Jason we already watched. It was like our movie club pick last Halloween, one of them.
Yeah.
Any hoozle, if you have okay, we got an answer here from Munson. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Halloween OG, Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell, which is our next one.
Ooh.
So we're aligned on all those, and I haven't seen it in long. I'm not saying it because it's been too long. But Jason Goes to Hell, I will say, is easily my favorite cover art of any Jason, or my favorite poster art, I should say, of any of these. And that would be this metal Jason mask with a hell snake pulsing through it. Also,
wait, we only have 2 more.
Well, no, actually, I misspoke because this is the Shout Factory box set, by the way. It's a thing of beauty. Part 8 is the one we just watched. Now we have Jason Goes to Hell, then Jason X, then Freddy vs. Jason, and then Friday the 13th, the remake.
We watched Freddy vs. Jason.
We did.
Yeah.
So now, but I'm actually...
What is this from?
The remake is one of the ones that Michael Bay's production company made when they were making all the gritty, dark ones around the early teens. Mm-hmm. I gotta say, I totally wrote it off as being like, fuck remakes, but I was also being a little shit at the time. I've heard a lot of Friday fans say the remake is actually really good and captures the brutality of Jason in a really fresh way.
Oh, I'm excited.
So I'm excited to watch it.
Ooh.
I think
fresh brutality.
Yeah, fresh brutality, baby. So fun, especially unrated cut. There you go. So yeah, I had written it off pretentiously. The cat just yawned in a really cute way off screen. Very excited to get into that. Okay, cool. Well, let me be your computer guy.
Yeah.
This is a new segment. Well, maybe not a new segment, but a new idea.
Yeah, it's a new idea. I've been kicking around in my head this idea for a while. Again, if you're a regular to the video store, you might know that back in the day, I had a vintage store and I was a stylist. I mean, don't look at me now because quarantine has done.
I was gonna just say, look at her now.
No,
it's clear you're a stylist. You look really cute tonight.
Oh,
Your color game was on point.
Thank you, but I used to be a lot more fashionable. I used to have my finger on the pulse.
I think you still do. Okay.
Okay. Well, I decided how fun would it be to merge these 2 interests. Also, we talk a lot about nostalgia here, and I've always been really nostalgic for magazines. I love magazines. Mm-hmm. Flipping through a magazine, and so I actually think maybe the chat can help us name the segment.
Yeah. Okay, so one idea we had, or you had, I should say, was...
Okay, well, let's just get into it, and then we can...
Fair enough. Without any further ado, untitled new segment. And it's going to cover up my face, so this is all you.
Okay, so I'm going to start doing Get the Look, and we'll have these up on our Instagram at You Are In A Video Store. So I'm going to do like 4 to 5 per movie. This could be a movie that we watch during the week, or maybe one that I have been inspired by in the past and haven't really done this for yet, but I decided to do Friday the 13th that we watched this past week. So here we go. We've got this look here. You can see I've deconstructed it a la a 17 magazine.
Oops. Sorry, I didn't realize that would do that if I did that. Okay, go on. By the way, Wedge, feeling you on this, on your comment, Wedge, absolutely.
Oh, good. Okay, great. So first of all, I just want to talk about these suspenders being worn backwards. I don't know if this was like a trend, but I'm really here for it. I just want to point that out.
Maybe even a pre-crisscross sort of vibe.
Yeah, for sure. And then I don't know what enamel pin she's wearing on her suspenders, but I did a little zoom in. I picked one that I thought was fun and a little wink to the look itself. When we do put these on our Instagram as slides, I'm going to go ahead and tag any vintage or Etsy stores that are the sources for these images. So I can't remember the name of this. If you open this here, excuse me.
Oh, yeah. And Holden Look, by the way, saying that the backward suspenders feels like a Back to the Future Part 2 style.
Ooh.
Totally agree.
Flare King on Etsy is where this little enamel pin is. It's Bart Simpson with a Jason mask on. So I just thought that was a fun little wink. If you do want to try and recreate this look, I went ahead and did 4 slides for this movie.
And I'm just going to drop the link to our Instagram because we will be posting those there, and that's where you can follow the tags to these retailers.
Yeah.
So do you want to... Sorry.
No, you can go to the next one.
Next
yeah,
slide?
for sure.
Now, young Josh Hartnett looking dude.
Yes, Josh Hartnett looking dude. You can't really tell many times during the movie, but he is wearing little baby gold hoops, which I thought was a nice touch. Very fashion. Those glasses are Zinni glasses. I own that pair. This is a very easy look to put together. Fashionable, casual, fun, vintage, chill. We love it. We love to see it.
And you're getting an awesome from Munson as well.
Yay! And I'm going to be tagging, again, these vintage shirts. I'll be tagging the vintage shops that I took those images from. So you can go and click and shop the actual looks. Okay, this one is really fun. I've really tried hard to find this tank top or something more similar to this tank top, but I did throw on just a couple of vintage black and red tanks there. We've got a Jordan tee and a black and red stripe, some gold jewelry, a little mini purse, and a Casio watch to top it all off. Mwah, we love it. We love to see it. This is a fun, cute look with a little high-waisted pleated pant and a belt.
And if you want to throw in $200 worth of cocaine, you can really complete the look for this character.
Just pack that purse.
I don't know what a dollar amount of cocaine looks like. I have no idea. Okay. By the way, Casio watch, I'm going to come into your space saying you can rock this Casio watch for about $10. So you know.
Yeah. And, I did put 2 options there. I put the classic black plastic, and if you want to be a fancy watch, you've got the gold to go with your other gold accessories to really elevate your tank top. Okay?
I feel like your color story tonight is really matching hers.
Yeah, I was, inspired by that and this shirt. I was like, you know what, I'll do black and red.
Love it.
Yeah, and then, get a nice blowout going on your hair there, maybe a feather.
And Wedge says this is amazing, which I agree, Wedge. I was surprised to, when I woke up much later than Stephanie today, I came out to see her completing these, and I was pretty blown away by the concept as well. I think it's really cool. Next slide.
Yeah, I think we got just one more, right?
One more left.
Yeah, one more. Now, this one is fun. So I wanted to do This one, very 90s, but also like an elevated modern take. If you see on the far right there's Mare from Reverie. This is an organic vegan hair company. I actually use this sea salt spray. It's amazing. If you pair it with their balm, I forget exactly what it's called. I could go look, but if anybody cares, let me know. I'll be tagging them as well on the Instagram. But their products, again, cruelty-free. They smell amazing. They work great, and you only need a tiny little bit, so they last forever. They give you that lovely beachy wave. A couple of options for a sort of 90s inspired button down with just maybe an exaggerated collar or some nice pearl buttons. And the Statue of Liberty gold necklace you can get for like $8 on Etsy. Vintage vest and a modern trench to top it off. We love to see it.
And I love this look in particular. She's got kind of like a teen Annie Hall thing going on.
I know. I was thinking that too.
Very cool.
Like a very Diane kind of moment.
There you go. Well, this segment I think is amazing. I don't know what your labor was like going into this, but I hope we get to see more of it moving forward.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do this at least every other week, but, you know, it was really fun and only took me the afternoon, so who knows, maybe it'll be a weekly thing. I really feel like this kind of is a merging of a lot of my interests, so...
I love it. Thank you for bringing a new perspective into this show as well.
Yeah, of course. I feel like so often I'm watching a movie and I'm like, man, this wardrobe is amazing. This costume design is amazing. Or unexpectedly good. Or like, I'm really inspired by it. But it's not like, you know, Sex and the City or something.
Right.
It's just sort of like, oh.
That happened to you the first time with, and let me go ahead and get my face back on here, but that happened to you the first time with Operation Condor, Jackie Cat? That's not what's happening right now. I know it's not.
Oh, so Jackie Chan, Operation Condor is going to be one of the Get the Look that I dissect, because that movie is like fashion. There's a lot of Jackie Chan movies that are very fashionable.
We'll have to do a Jackie run of these.
Yep.
It was his birthday last week, actually. All right, do you want to blow strongly in my direction?
Oh, if you want to just flip through the slides, flip back just to give one more little peek at those. We'll be putting these up at You Are in a Video Store probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
So...
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you. That was amazing. And now we're going to ask the chat if they have any ideas on what this should be called.
Yeah. Please let us know if you have any ideas for this series / segment / Instagram thing that I'm going to start doing. We have talked about every
look a painting.
Every look a painting. Every frame a fashion.
Every frame a look.
Every frame a look. F for fashion.
Rated F.
Rated F for fashion. I don't know. If you have any hot ideas for what we could call this.
Oh, F for fashion. I don't know. Duh, because we just watched F for fake.
Oh, F for fashion. That's fun. Fashion frame.
Fashion frame. Ooh, that's good too. These are good, y'all. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Munson. I think those are our top 2 contenders. F for fashion is cool. All right. Well, we'll land on something for the next time. Spooky boy?
Spooky Puppy's playing with his little mouse, if you see.
He's that's his name, by
Not
the way.
the Christmas mouse.
Spooky Puppy is our cat's name. There's a rug under one of the legs of the tripod. Our admittedly very janky tripod that we use to put our webcam on to do this show. Wardrobe watch.
Ooh, that's fun too.
These are all very good. I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste these ideas here. Come on, paste. There we go. Oh. What is that? Convert this document. No? Oh, interesting. Okay. I'll type them out longhand because geez Louise. Fashion frame, F for fashion, wardrobe watch. Okay. Wardrobe watch. Sounds like a 2020 segment.
Yeah.
These are all very good. Okay, got them written down. You were in a clothing store.
That is so good. Okay, Holden, look, that might take the cake for me.
We could also do like a thing where it's like the You Are in a Video Store logo, and then we like X out everything after the VI and write in intage.
That's so fun. Well, I really appreciate y'all kind of coming along and indulging. I'm glad it seems like people liked it. There will be more where that came from. I really enjoyed doing this. This was really, really fun.
I think that you got a pretty enthusiastic chorus of approval for that.
I think so.
As you deserve. Because I was going to say, looking through them, it's not just the concept that I like, but I got to say your execution, like, those look like your design looks like it could, be on the Instagram of like Teen Vogue. I just think you laid it out very well.
Thank you so much.
Well, shall we go into our second segment before we get over to Movie Club?
Yeah.
All right, new. Coming at you. Cool. We have a short stack of new arrivals this week in the store. First off, honestly, not a whole lot, but I'll go ahead and start off with the first one, The Last Supper. I'm really, really interested in this. Last week I discussed one of the movies I'd watched, which was Death of a Bureaucrat, which was Tomas Gutierrez Alea movie, and we were talking about like Cuban national cinema and how Alea was kind of the father of the Cuban New Wave movement, and is mostly known for his movie Memories of Underdevelopment, which is about growing up during the revolution, but that he's actually a really diverse filmmaker. Death of a Bureaucrat being his kind of Gilliam Buñuel-esque comedy of errors about living in a modern world full of bureaucracy and red tape. This is another movie from New Yorker Video, who is a really great... New Yorker Video put out so much that is not available on DVD or Blu-ray, and they're really good spots to start if you're looking for world cinema that maybe isn't going to pop up in the Netflix queue. Have never seen this. Very excited to watch it. This is, let's just read the back. Photographed with a lush palette, this startlingly beautiful masterpiece is based on an incident from 18th century Cuban history. The film is a dazzling moral tale of a pious slaveholder who decides to improve his soul and instruct his slaves in the glories of Christianity by inviting 12 of them to participate in a reenactment of the Last Supper. It's a satire about class in Cuba, using the Last Supper as a framing device. Can't wait to watch it. Man Who Laughs. Now, this is one of my favorite movies. This movie is probably most famous these days because it often gets bandied about as the inspiration for the Joker. I will go ahead and show you the alternate art, and you'll see what I'm talking about a little bit more there. If you can see kind of behind the disc hole there, it's a giant smile. Now, this movie is actually... Here's a better than the original poster art there. This movie is thought of as an inspiration of the Joker to such a degree that while shopping for this online, I found on eBay someone offering a Joker kit with this, The Dark Knight, and the new Joker movie as a triple. Yeah. Which, you know what? Whatever guides people to silence.
I'm going to get the mouse.
This is another Paul Lenny. Now, last week I talked about how I'd watched The Last Warning by Paul Lenny, one of my favorite German expressionist filmmakers who moved on to work with Carl Laemmle at Universal. This movie, the plot is of a nobleman who is punished by the Duke by having a smile permanently carved into his face. But it is not like the Joker story. It is not about a man going crazy and becoming villainous. It is a romantic tragedy about a man struggling to love after being permanently disfigured. It is a great epic tragedy, and I heartily recommend it to anyone who is a fan of silent films or of really just visual storytelling in general. Yeah, The Last Supper does sound complex, for sure. It's meant to be a satire, though. It's not like embracing its main character. Next up, also from Eureka, I gotta tell y'all that ordering a region-free Blu-ray player has kind of changed my life. This is a Russian movie from 1967. I have never seen it. It's called Vi. The reason that I ordered it is because it's a new release from the Masters of Cinema line, and is a special effects movie. One of the men credited for creating the effects in it being compared to Harryhausen, as well as Greg Botten, who did the Thing effects, and I'm very excited to watch this effects-driven movie from Soviet Russia. Okay, finally, we got a couple box sets from Shriek Show. Now, Shriek Show was kind of like a janky brand from the early aughts, and they put out a lot of these box sets of like cheaply produced exploitation and horror movies put in box sets. I will say that, speaking of our movie club pick, Lady Snowblood, and its star, Miko Kaji, Shriek Show was the reason I originally saw the Female Prisoner Scorpion franchise. They were the first people to put out a U.S. release. It came in one of these cardboard, cheap box sets for $15 back in the day. They also, we were talking about cannibal movies earlier, it's also how I saw a lot of Italian cannibal and zombie movies. These two I had never picked up before, but since we're diving into Italian horror, I kind of looked into these titles and I realized that I think most of these, I think 4 out of the 6 of them have never made it to Blu-ray, and these DVDs are the last known release. So these were super cheap. I mean, they were cheap when they came out. I was surprised. I thought maybe they'd become rare and expensive, but they were like $10 each, so I picked them up on eBay. The first one is the Demons set. That's got The Other Hell, which is a nunsploitation movie. Demons 3, The Ogre, which is Lamberto Bava, the direct... That was funny. That was the cat. He Tokyo drifted into that shit. Lamberto Baffa, who is the director of Demons 1 and 2, actually went and made Demons 3, The Ogre, on his own. It has nothing to do with the other movies. It only has one monster, the Ogre, and he titled it that. I think it's kind of fun because it almost reminds me of Resident Evil Nemesis, how the third one is just about one monster. And then finally, Black Demons, which comes with this. It's Umberto Lenzi. I'm interested in it. I'm sure it is probably pretty fucked up. It is about a slave ship of demons. It's probably a fucked up movie. I'll probably watch it and let you know my honest thoughts. And then the other set is the zombie set. This came out the year after Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, when zombie culture was peaking in the early aughts and everyone wanted zombie everything. It was the Dawn of the Dead remake. It was 28 Days Later. I've talked on this show before about it, but quick, fun history lesson. George Romero's Night of the Living Dead technically has 3 separate franchises that are all canonical. There's, of course, George Romero's Night of the Living Dead into Dawn of the Dead, into Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead that Romero did. There is the Dan O'Bannon's Return of the Living Dead franchise that comes off of the first one. And then there's the Italian franchise because Dawn of the Dead was recut by Dario Argento with a new soundtrack and released in Italy as Zombie. Then Lucio Fulci made Zombie 2. And then, because no one really owned the rights to that title, a bunch of people made sequels. And here are those sequels. We've got Zombie 3, which Fulci also did. Zombie 4, which Fulci did not do. And here's where the quality begins to seriously drip. And then Zombie 5, where they turn into zombie birds. So, I'm honestly just curious to watch these. I'm sure there's a real law of diminishing returns here, but them's the new arrivals for the week. And yes, Munson Region Free opens up a whole world of possibilities, and also RIP my wallet. I've been seriously slowing down. There's a reason why, yes, I got these Eureka titles, but there's a reason why the others are $5 tapes and DVD sets, is because we've been talking about Italian horror. I'm a completionist. I would say the Italian horror section of this store is probably the biggest of any section. And that, my friends, brings me to the end of new arrivals. I'm very excited. I will dive into some of those, and we will hopefully talk about them soon. We've talked about getting into Italian horror, giallo, zombie stuff even more. There's a world there to explore. But for now, let's keep doing what we're doing, celebrating Asian cinema, and specifically Japanese cinema, in the month of April. And let's move over to our movie club. Movie club. Stephanie, could you go ahead and just point to your left, upper left? A little up, little ding. There you go. You did it. Okay, I'm going to scoot over and give you room because the cat moved our frame. Okay, y'all. Movie club time. If you're a first-time viewer or tuning in and watching an archive episode on YouTube, Movie Club is how we end every stream. And we pick a movie with you in the chat, and we all try to watch it together, and then we all try to discuss. This week's movie was Lady Snowblood from 1973, directed by Toshiya Fujita. If you watched it, you know the big thing about this is it is so clearly a giant influence on the Kill Bill movies. We started talking about that earlier. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that. Let's also talk about this movie on its own terms. I didn't write any notes down on this like I did the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. I lapsed. So first of all, you in the chat, what did you think?
Yeah, let us
Stephanie,
know.
Oh, sorry.
Let us know if you watched it. Let us know your thoughts. I did take some notes, but they're very scribbly, scrawly.
Well, I would love to hear those notes as well. I would also love to say that the other thing we watched this week, this is one of my favorite DVDs. If you can find a copy, I really recommend it, especially if you're a fan of animation. It's called The Exquisite Short Films of Kiichiro Kawamoto. There's his name, Kiichiro Kawamoto. He is a stop-motion animator who was most active in the 70s in Japan. These are all great for different reasons. They're very kabuki-inspired. They're very traditional. But the one we watched was an 8-minute short called The Demon, which was a simple folktale of two hunters who go into the woods and are chased by a demon who is revealed to be their elderly mother because she has become corrupted. And I thought this was a really fun little appetizer for the movie about a human demon we watched.
It absolutely was. It was beautifully animated. It made me very interested in watching the rest of these.
This is like, remember a few Christmases ago where we watched The Insects Christmas?
Yeah.
And you were like, this is great. What else? And we watched a few others. Mm-hmm. And I said there's 2 DVDs of stop motion that I have that like are just artists no one knows about, mm-hmm. and this is the other one I was referencing. Like, this guy's not really famous outside Japan. These movies are stunning. If you're a fan of stop motion, claymation, puppetry, it's a must. Kiichiro Kawamoto.
Really beautiful.
All right, well, head to your scribble. I can rant. I think I can rant, but I want to save my breath for a second and hear what you have to say.
Okay, so I'm going to try and read this. If you were here last week, you know that our movie club pick was Vengeance is Mine. Mm-hmm. I thought this was a really interesting follow-up to Vengeance is Mine for a few reasons. One, because I feel like they had similar themes and similar structural styles. They sort of jumped in and out of different time periods, past and present. Similarly, also the two main, the central characters who are both killers, one is completely absent of more morality, and the other one is like desperate to cling on to the human part of her. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really lovely that you do get those moments with her where she's crying at a child or mm-hmm. a memory or whatever. Really, really lovely, really interesting. Also, similar themes of like cycles of trauma, and specifically generational trauma, and also cycles of war, and Western invasion of Japan. We were talking about, and I do not know how to pronounce this, Meiji, Meiji era,
I think,
which is I guess Meiji. We'll say Meiji. If anyone knows.
I think that it's hard J's in Japanese. Let's look up pronunciation real quick. Might as well. Meiji.
It scared me. I didn't know.
I did not know it was so loud either.
Meiji. Okay. Meiji. So the Meiji era, where technology is coming into Japan and people are actively bucking against it. Anyways, all of these themes sort of reminded me of Vengeance is Mine. I thought it was a really interesting follow-up. Would make an interesting double feature.
I think so.
On the case of double features. So Japan and the changing face of Japan, specifically as it relates to American occupation, whatever that means. And technology and change versus tradition and all of those things all come to a head at the masquerade, which I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I noticed. Now, do you remember the relevance of the white suits or the white outfits?
Yes, the white suits were men who were conscription agents, meaning that they forced people to sign up for a draft to help build Japan's empire by being forced to be in the military. But it also kind of labeled the white suits, labeled them as enemies of poor villagers because they were essentially coming into small, poor villages and demanding people leave for the glory of the empire, which, to your point, is so similar to the inciting incident of Vengeance's Mine when the empire demands the boats. Yeah,
for sure. And so I was thinking, if the whole movie is leading up to this like masquerade, what do they call it? The final.
Oh god, the chapter names in this are
whatever.
So fucking cool. Yeah. I think it says
massacre.
It says chapter 4, Pleasure Carnival, the final carnage.
Yeah, the final carnage. Okay, so you get to this masquerade. It's sort of very, showy as far as this very Western influence, this different types of technology and different types of Western influence. Then you see Lady Snowblood murder the last guy. I forget his name.
The guy who makes it to the end.
Yeah.
I think, is he Tsukamoto?
Is it Tsukamoto?
Which is the name of the director we started the month with. Yeah, I think he's the Tsukamoto. I think he's the one who fakes his death.
Okay. Yes, that guy. So when she murders him, he falls off of a balcony into the masquerade ball granted he is like a waiter, but he's wearing a white coat. He falls directly on top of a guy with a white coat. To try to catch his fall, there are 2 flags hanging from that balcony. There's an American flag and a Japanese flag. To try to catch his fall, he grabs the Japanese flag and he rips it down with him. So he falls and dies on top of the man in a white coat with the Japanese flag, leaving the American flag hanging there.
I didn't even notice this.
And I don't know if that was intentional, but to me, it all sort of, that whole scene felt very, there was a lot of symbolic imagery going on.
Oh my god, I mean, I did not catch that at all. I have absolutely no doubt that was intentional. It feels like a very smart observation. I was going to say, also towards the end of the movie, just piggybacking off what you're saying here, towards the end of the movie, it's talked about how, like, can the snow that is stained with blood return to its purity? And the whole concept that, like, the inciting incident of all this was not her father, but her mother's husband. Before, like, the cause of this vengeance was the white suit being covered in blood, and therefore she was born as the bloody snow. Can it be washed away? But what else is a big splotch of red on a background of white but the Japanese flag? That's that's a brilliant reading that I was not coming at it from the national view like that, but I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, I just thought that, especially after last week, just discussing all of that, generational trauma and all of those things sort of, I just felt like there were a lot of similar themes, and it was a really interesting follow-up.
That is, I would not have compared the two, but these are also same decade. Like, these are movies that were produced maybe 6 years apart.
Yeah, and also the Meiji era, I think the end of that is it's not too far away from the occupation.
No, the U.S. occupation after World War II would have been the 50s, and I think I was reading over your show, because I didn't know the Meiji era either, but you looked it up. I think it said 1867 to 1913.
Yeah.
So that would have been when he was a child in Vengeance's Mine was 1913.
Right.
So that's not the American occupation, but the beginning of the empire demanding.
Yeah.
And this wrestling, like, okay, quickly hopping to the chat, Wedge saying, is Lady Snowblood Japan? Maybe. But what's interesting about this is, to your point about like, there's so much struggling because it's also about like the individualistic aspect of just let me live, and then the emperor, the Empire of Japan saying we're so great, give your life up for us, and then America saying we're from the outside, now we're here, give your life to us or change to be like us.
And she's in that scene. She's dressed in like her very traditional. She's like the only one in that traditional Japanese.
You're right, because the ball is like very Western, and that is the welcoming in. So she is this vengeful spirit, and what is maybe American occupation or involvement? It's not occupation, I suppose, in a military sense yet, but this era definitely being when borders were being opened up after this island nation that was fiercely closed to the world,
and also put them at odds with China.
Yeah, which has its own, like, I don't even know if we have the time to jump into that history or if I know enough about it.
I don't know enough, but...
But, I mean, I think you make I need a second, I think. The last kill is working for Japan plus America selling weapons. And, of course, this produced in the same decade as Vengeance is Mine, so the 70s, like, if you're 35, say you're, like, our age producing art in the 70s. Let's make it a round number. You're 40, and the year is 1975. That means you would have been born in 1935, so you would have been 10 when Hiroshima happened. So, like, this, like, and then come into this world, like, the violence with which Japanese culture was upended. And the interesting thing between this and Vengeance is Mine so firmly traffics in the modern world with the allegory, hints, not allegories, but, like, callbacks to history, whereas this takes place in the historical world with call forwards of allegorical meaning. The other thing that I think binds this movie to Vengeance is Mine, now that you've got my brain wrinkled, is the journalistic aspect.
For sure. We haven't even talked about that yet. How meta it is, like you were saying earlier.
And the fact that, like, there's a God voice in Vengeance is Mine guiding us through it, but that God voice is seen as the objective reality of journalistic writing. You know, this date, this time. We get that in this movie too.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it's mythical. It's still written by a journalist, but he's part of the story. Whereas in, and also it leads to, like, the journalistic infamy that she gains in this movie leads to Osaka, her final victim, or she thinks her final victim, being, revealing herself, is the exact same as Vengeance is Mine. Once the press hits the stories and gets big, he can't evade the law anymore.
Yeah, she also, you know, gets her vengeance. She enacts her revenge and ends up dying.
Does she die? Did you see the ending of this movie as a death?
Well,
and let's pretend we don't know there's a sequel, because we know the character doesn't die, technically.
Right.
But, like, in the realm of this movie as a self-contained movie, do you think that was a death at the end?
I don't know.
I want to quickly say Munson, second time watching it, mine too. Even better than I remember, same. Also love the universal settings of officials who care only about getting rich, the common people struggling in poverty, etc.
Yeah, a lot of stuff with class going on here.
And Wedge, yeah, kind of wish she had it for the tragedy.
I think that's
doesn't think she did.
I think that's where my head's at too. It's like, I know she didn't, but not that I would prefer it. I don't know.
The thing is, did Japan?
That's what I'm. That's sort of what I'm. It's like a death of sorts.
It's a death of the old ways.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a death of vengeance.
Yeah.
At this point, and I think this does harken to World War II, because there is, like, none of us as Americans, especially of our generation, with this all being so relegated to history in the past, despite the fact that it's not that long ago, less than 100 years ago. I mean, we watch movies on this show all the time that are older than these events. That imagine the vengeance of feeling as though the emperor is you are a normal person trying to live. The emperor is pushing what they want the country to be to such an extreme degree that another militarized nation who you had the chance to learn from and adopt some cultures, trade some culture with, commits mass murder, and then the country doesn't die, but it emerges with the old ways kind of dampened, and the new ways it's like adapt or die in a very literal way. And I think this movie is like, I do, for any Buffy fans, at the end of season 1, Buffy technically dies for like 5 minutes and then gets resuscitated, but she becomes the Buffy we know after that. I think this is the same. I do think Lady Snowblood does die and then is resurrected.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where my head's at too.
That shot in the snow, like, and the music takes like a more positive, like shifts to a major key and gives us that triumph, like. But the tragedy of her living for this one purpose and then executing that purpose and limping away bloody through the snow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It was beautiful. Music was incredible. Cinematography was amazing. Everything about this movie was fantastic.
And shout out to Miko Kaji for singing that theme song.
Yes.
Pop star as well. She's my favorite. Okay, so I don't know. I said okay, so like I had some other thought. I will just say let's return to something Wedge said earlier. I love the shots, the super zooms, and the camera work. This also harkens to Vengeance is Mine, but a specifically kind of 70s, but also even more specific kind of 70s Japanese filmmaking is the use of handheld. Mm-hmm. And I think handheld, I said it last week, I think it's a lost art. I love how there are such picturesque, beautiful framings in this, but then the next scene, if it calls for it, it's going to be this messy handheld take.
I totally agree, and I think that shot with her on the beach is so beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like,
her practicing her sword play with the giant waves breaking behind her.
Oh, that. But there's also like a very quiet moment. I forget exactly what's happening, but there's some other people like hanging out over here, and she's just kind of walking along the shore, and it's like very pulled down. I think Wedge was saying like the camera work, the super wide. Mm-hmm. I think that's.
I'm also a big fan of the zoom. I think the zoom and handheld are two things that, like, I don't know, I think people think of as, like, amateurish. They think, I think it's this weird monoculture thing where we start to enter into this, like, everything's supposed to be 4K shot on sticks and 185 to, like, I feel like we enter...
It is so hard to pull off those two things well.
What, good handheld and zooming?
Yeah.
Like I think Scorsese does it really well, the zooms. Tarantino.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like...
The greats.
The greats, you're right. It is true, but also, like, this movie... and just to the kabuki aspect as well, there's also a lot of, like, intentional theatricality about this. Granted, the blood is over the top, like kabuki theater, or, like, stage theater would be. Mm-hmm. But
sorry.
Do you remember the moment when after she kills her penultimate victim, and she's standing there blooding and the curtain falls?
That's literally why I went, oh.
Yeah. Love it.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I just did it again. I'm like trying to catch my thoughts on this. Let's talk about the influence it's had. It's very clear that this was it's very clear that this is like the influence for Kill Bill. And earlier you had mentioned which do you watch first. But there are just so many things that are happening in this movie because this movie doesn't care what you categorize it as, and I think that's its power. It doesn't care if you think about it as an exploitation movie that's cheap or low budget. I mean, it probably doesn't want to be seen that way, but like the way that it uses its film techniques, its film language, at times feels like this elevated operatic kabuki theater experience, and at times feels like this down and dirty, violent, blood spraying like manga, and at times feels like it's violent inward and outward, but it's always beautiful. And I think this movie just strikes out its own identity so like boldly. And of course we're used to seeing some of these techniques, like the low shot of the four killers is very like borrowed directly for Kill Bill and a lot of Tarantino's trunk shots. The freezing on people with their names appearing. Yeah. But like it's easy to see those in a modern sense and think, oh, what a fun throwback. But to see them fresh in the 70s actually happening feels like such raw creativity.
Oh, it's amazing. And also, you know, obviously, very obviously Kill Bill, but I feel like in general you can see Tarantino like taking little bits of this and injecting it in almost all of his period pieces.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, like, a lot of people, you know, like, I think expect one kind of movie. This is, I think, a reason a lot of people didn't like Hateful Eight, is because the movie presents itself as, like, this slow-paced thing, but then all of a sudden we've got this, like, boom, like, crazy zooms. And
yeah. I was thinking specifically of Hateful Eight and,
Django?
Django.
Yeah, because, like, the wildness is there. And it's like, as modern audiences, we're trained to think that if something's on tripod and it's in a certain aspect ratio being really wide, that this is great art. This is beautiful. This is how a movie's supposed to look. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as you do a rack zoom or a crazy, a snap zoom as it's called, mm-hmm. or anything crazy like that, people are like, this feels cheap, or this feels like a B movie.
Yeah.
I do think that we could stand to loosen up our internal restrictions we put on what we think art is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I wonder, Wedge, agreed that it's very manga. I wonder if a lot of these things, like pausing on someone with their name on the screen, is being directly, because I was thinking maybe it's being pulled from some silent film, but then I'm like, maybe it's the manga influence. Maybe that's mm-hmm. where that comes from.
Yeah.
Because that's a medium in which you do literally have a still silent frame with words over it. So maybe it's yeah. The zoom is its language. Yeah. I love a good zoom, honestly. But I remember being a young film fan and being thrown by it. I'll tell you, I remember in Royal Tenenbaums, I saw it in theater, and there's a snap zoom of someone, like, someone standing on a rooftop, and I remember thinking, like, you're not supposed to do that. Because I, like, wanted the movie to be a clean, pristine thing and not to get messy.
Interesting.
It's not a cheap trick, it's for a reason. Agreed.
Yeah, I remember being surprised by that kind of stuff too, where it felt a little more out of place, but it was more like surprised and delighted. I was like, oh.
I think another one that got a lot of people of our generation, and I'm generalizing, I'm sure, but in The Departed, there's a moment when a black iris is used to pull out on Matt Damon in a space, mm-hmm. and the scene starts with him, like silent film, like him and a little black iris, and then it opens, and you see the police academy around him. It's like that Bram Stoker's Dracula move, like, you know, that Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Coppola movie where he busted out like every trick in the old school film playbook for fun. I want more of that. I want more like camera in my movies.
Same. Yeah,
I love that shot too, Wedge. Wedge remembers. The music. Yes, the music is also directly lifted for the kill. A lot of it for Tarantino
I was like,
stuff.
wow, okay.
Yeah. There's that famous story of the super zoom shot in Clockwork Orange. Do tell. Spoiler free, please. This is actually on the queue for her. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pull it out. I should watch that.
Oh, wow.
What are our big ones that we want to... The big ones that have come up during the show that we've been like, oh, Promising Young Woman, Clockwork Orange. You mentioned wanting to see a double feature. Oh, Miss 45. Okay, I'm going to start keeping track of these a little bit better. No spoilers, but there's a shot under a bridge, something like an impossible zoom. He built a custom lens for that shot.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that. I know what you're talking about. I can kind of see it in my head, but I need to rewatch it. And we will definitely... You can see the paper on the edge of this DVD case is flecked off from the number of times I've used my fingernail to pull it out of the case. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can.
I've had this set since I was 16. We'll pull it out. Beautiful, wonderful. What a fantastic film this is. God, an insane film, really. Kubrick did definitely, I know this is like the least original thought in the world, but Kubrick really did rock the fucking foundations of the world with every movie he made. And we need to watch 2001, which is another big one you need to see. Mm-hmm. 28 to 300 millimeter. That's amazing. That is it's insane. Well, any final thoughts from you on the chat? I think I'm kind of spent on thoughts about this movie, other than like, look, if you didn't watch it, nope, cat, Please. If you didn't watch it, highest possible recommendation. I really think this movie is a total masterpiece. It's poppy, it's thoughtful, it's emotional. It's why movies exist. It's the most fucking fun you're going to have in 90 minutes, guaranteed.
I fully endorse this movie as well. 100% essential viewing in my book.
Essential viewing. All right, guys. Well, we're reaching the end. I want to say I got a DM from Pathos. They're one of the people who said they were not able to make it, but Pathos wanted to suggest a movie called Avalon from 2001, which is about a massive multiplayer online RPG. It is directed by some anime directors with a Polish cast, apparently very hard to find, but now streaming on Paramount Plus. So we can throw that out there as a possibility. I'm going to try and watch it. Now, I know that we might want to wait for Pathos and let them argue more passionately in the chat, because I'm not sure. I honestly know nothing about it. They just DM'd me and said this might be a really good theme for the theme this month. Mm-hmm. Hi, dog. Just off frame. Our animals are like, they can tell that it's actually a half hour to dinner time, my friends. So let's back it up. Let's go away. Let's go away. Anyway, let's pick a movie club pick, y'all. Now, I don't know if this is... I think we have how many more Tuesdays this month? We have the 20th and the 27th. We got 2 more weeks. Mm-hmm. Where do we want to go? We've now done 2 Japanese 70s movies in a row. Before that, we did one from the late 80s. We can go backwards or forwards in time. I've really been wanting to watch Cure, but I think what happens every week is I mention it and then I realize that there's no place to watch it online. Oh, it is on the Criterion channel. It must have just gotten added. Very good. Well, that's a possibility. I've never seen it. There's another movie. June. Hey, dog.
Hey.
Oh, okay. Accidentally opened up Netflix there. June, lay down. Sit.
Good girl.
Lay down.
Lay down.
Lay down. Please, just guys. We were making this joke because they were sleeping like angels right before we started streaming, and we're like, "This isn't gonna last." Dog noises intensify. Batman Forever should be one of our movies we watch. Okay. Japanese film. What are we interested in? We could do some J-horror from the aughts. That's an era we haven't explored at all yet. Pulse is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's horrifying. I just ordered the Arrow Blu-ray from the Arrow flash sale. By the way, Arrow is currently having a sale. If you do have a region-free Blu-ray player, arrowfilms.com, the actual British site for Arrow, is having a pretty crazy sale right now through April 19th. So you got a week left. I got some fun stuff I'm sure we'll do on a New Arrivals. And I snagged the... Ow! Ooh, that actually kind of hurt me.
Did you get your...
I tried to catch him. He pulled my elbow the wrong way. You're a strong little boy, aren't you, little chubby boy? There you go. Okay, I think we can hold him for the rest of the show. I got him. You got him? Okay, Japanese film, y'all.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out there, and maybe we can make a poll. Lady Snowblood, Bride in... What is it?
The Bride Who Wore Black.
The Bride Who Wore Black. I'm going to throw that out there.
The Bride Who Wore Black?
Mm-hmm.
That is a French film.
Oh, it is a French film, right? Okay.
But we have talked about getting into French stuff. Next.
Okay.
Or Hong Kong next.
Well,
and then 90s action.
I guess, do you have any other Miko Kaji?
Well, of course, there's always more Miko Kaji. There's the Stray Cat Rock franchise that she got her start in, which are girl punk movies, much like Switchblade Sisters, about girl gangs. This was a popular kind of movie that was cheap to produce in Japan in the 60s and 70s. Take a bunch of attractive young people, give them switchblades, and tell a story about gang violence and interpersonal drama. There's a bunch of that.
Hey!
Female Prisoner Scorpion is one I push for all the time.
I think we should do it.
It's one of my favorites. Well, I want to watch it too, but the thing is, like, I want to watch Female Prisoner Scorpion so badly too. I just, since we only get 2 more weeks, I wanted to, like, I mean, I'm down for it.
Well, where are you? Where's your head at?
I just want to I want to actually capture Japanese cinema, and we've been in the 70s for 2 in a row now. And I want to I mean, I'm down with it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm very happy to. No, don't put him down. I will take him. And anything but this cat being back on the ground. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Female Prisoner Scorpion 701. Miko Kaji all over the place. But we haven't done a single Kurosawa. We haven't done anything before the color era. I feel like we're not... I feel like we're kind of doing a lot of Look, I think Japanese cinema oftentimes gets relegated to violent, extreme, blood spraying stuff, and we've done a little bit of that, and I kind of want to show the quieter side. I kind of want to do some Kurosawa, or maybe we talked about doing some Ghibli.
Yeah.
Pulse is so good. And then also Pulse Ju-on, stuff like that, the techno terror of the aughts, and a very influential, decade that really took off in the U.S. Ju-on was remade as The Grudge.
Might be fun to watch one of those and then round out the month with a Studio Ghibli.
That's fun. And we got to get to... Look, I'm sorry if y'all don't want to watch, a Kurosawa, but I do.
We can watch a Kurosawa. I'm down for that, too.
I'm telling y'all, I know.
I'm angry.
No, I'm being a butthorn about it. I just really want to, have an excuse to watch Yojimbo or Hidden Fortress or Throne of Blood or Seven Samurai and talk about it.
We got some Hidden Fortress.
I think it was just Kurosawa last week, but also maybe we can end on a Kurosawa note because it feels like maybe we can,
Mm-hmm.
Pulse is one of about 5 movies that I feel has actually scared me. When I worked at a video store, the most common question you get is, what movie's actually scary? And to that I would answer, Wreck, Pulse, Nosferatu. Those are my 3 that I always tell people. Watch any of those alone at night, you will freak yourself out. You'll be uncomfortable. I think Pulse is a really timely story about technology's role in our lives, and phones in particular. Just to give the plot without spoiling anything, Pulse is about the world of the dead becoming full, so the dead have to start trying to turn our world into the world of the dead as well to take over because they have no room, and their entry to our world is our technology. Let's watch Pulse.
Sounds good to me.
It's good. Hopefully my order from Arrow gets here in time and we can watch the new Blu-ray edition of it. If not, we will stream it. And on that note, I should make sure that it is available for streaming for people who might not have a physical copy around. So I'm not trying to be... I don't want to be pushy with the movie club pick either. I came across pushy with the Kurosawa thing.
No.
And Female Prisoner Scorpion, can we have that be a soft pick? Can we watch that this week as a soft pick maybe?
Sure.
Because I think that if we go down that's the best. If you like Lady Snowblood, you'll love Female Prisoner Scorpion. Shit, I don't know. Which of the 2 should it be? I think... We're trying to capture a national cinema, right?
Yeah.
We can't hang out in one decade. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey, Pulse is free on Prime.
And just a little baby kitty and your dog.
Dog? Oh my God. Kong. That's the banging you hear. Go lay down. Go lay down. Go back it up. That's actually, you're being really good.
Really good.
That was really good. Just backed up super well and laid down.
That's going to earn you a big oak tree.
You're going to get a lot of peanut butter in this Kong after we wrap, I promise. Okay, y'all. Cool. Sounds like we're on board with Pulse. Very exciting, which means that we need to do staff picks.
Staff picks. Oh, man. I did not think about my staff pick at all.
I never do. I always forget.
It's weird. I feel like my instinct is to make the staff pick somehow tied into what we've been talking about or kind of where we're at with movie club, but at the same time I just feel like mine are all so random.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I feel like your staff pick can be... Did I even post the staff picks last week? Did I even ever gram it? I might be a week behind on those. I might have to...
Okay. I think this little guy just needs to He's ready.
I don't want to wait. Oh yeah, we're behind. We're behind. So if you catch us on the Insta, we are behind right now. So there's going to be 2 posts. One is an archival for tonight's stream, and then one looking forward. I'll make sure I note that in the caption. But just so no one gets confused, you're going to see one coming up with last week's picks. And on that one, my staff pick was Last Temptation for Easter. So I'm torn right now. I'm going to keep my staff pick Japanese, but I'm torn. Should it be Godzilla vs. Kong, the original, 1967 Godzilla vs. Kong? Or... I might have another one. All right. Well, it could be just anything that's tickled your fancy. See, we always both do this.
I know. I was like, here.
I know, though. It's really rough sometimes. It's hard some days to be a cat. All you want to do is have dinner, and everyone keeps holding you and saying, don't move. You're annoying. All they do is complain about me, Dad. I know, Bubba. I know. Tell me all about it, please.
Remember when we watched Wishmaster?
Wishmaster was fun.
It's super fun.
You know that Blu-ray has like 3 or 4 more of those movies in it too. That's the Wishmaster collection up there.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that movie.
I did too. It's fun with the gin.
Mm-hmm.
I love horror movies. All right, so Pulse is our movie club pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then staff picks. My staff pick is going to be Hausu. If you've never seen Hausu, watch Hausu. It's the best movie ever made. It kicks much ass.
That's a very good staff pick.
I got your little feet. You a little crazy? I know.
Oh no.
He says Hausu features a white cat very prominently and also features blood on a white canvas, but it's not a commentary on Japan and Hausu. It's a commentary on getting your first period and moving from childhood into adulthood as a woman and how that can cause your personality to feel splintered at times. Anyway, that's enough for me tonight. Have a good night, Holdenwook. It was wonderful having you back.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Boom, boom, bam, beep, boom, beep, boom, bum, boom, bum, boom, boom. Oh, I know. We were talking about watching this movie. It's one of my faves, Romeo and Michelle.
Hell yeah! That's a really good one. Why not? Throw that in the staff section. All right, y'all. Well, I think that the sound of the crying cat means that our stream is coming to an end. We had a pretty tight show tonight. Went a little shorter than normal.
Yeah.
We're going to order some Chinese food, so hopefully you two have reasonable local access to greasy, disgusting, fatty General Tso that you can just... my mouth is watering again. Our movie club pick will be Pulse from 2005. Make sure you watch the 2005 version because there is another movie called Pulse that's a little more recent that is not the one we're talking about. The director of that is Kobayashi Kurosawa, I believe is his first name. I'm probably wrong. In any case, he is also a Kurosawa, but he is working currently, and he also directed Cure. So if you do have Criterion Channel and you want to watch Cure 2, I'm going to try and watch that this week. I've been looking forward to it for a while. Other than that, let me type this stuff up in the chat, and then we'll say our goodbyes and close the shop up for the night. Pulse is great. Pulse is, I think, very scary, and hopefully I'm not misremembering that. We had a great time with you 2 months, and you have a good night as well.
Yeah. Likewise. Have a good night.
All right, cool. Well, with that being said, we hope you all have a wonderful night. I'm going to jump over here and actually have our end credits queued up because we always forget.
Yeah.
More movies this week for you, us as well. Also, Holdenwook, we're going to be getting into that 6 Feet Life deep as well.
Maybe we'll line up.
Also, one more round of applause for what you will see on our Insta soon, which is Stephanie's fantastic concept, which we have some different ideas for a name for.
Yeah, thank you for dropping those ideas in the chat and for being enthusiastically receptive.
It was easy to be, because it's a great idea. We're going to tend to these babies. We hope that you have a good night tending to your own, especially you, Wedge and Abby, with a literal, real human baby. Get home safe. Have a wonderful night. Black Lives Matter. Be kind, rewind. Watch more movies, and we'll see you next week.
You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video. From Lubitsch to Mamoulian, Kubrick to Leone, Corbucci and Suzuki, these movies take you to newer lands. We recommend it, never pretentious, it's never ending, just where our head is. It's one Kauai and a Slaughterhouse 5. Those Hollywood nights are Hong Kong on fire. I could watch it all night, press stop and rewind. Watch it again, you're strapped in, ain't no stopping the ride. Ask Ginger Rogers the time. Swing down to Broadway and lights. Ishii, Miike, Tarkovsky, Almodovar, Von Sternberg, Dietrich, Garbo, Garfield, Heathcliff with Transformers over on the 80s TV show. You need a hand, we can reach it. Move in silence like Murnau Melius Mishu. Spending afternoons with Maya, then watch Freddy Got Fingered. It's all love for that silver screen. Now baby, what that TV do? And we here every week too, so don't you touch that dial, bruh. We ain't skipping the previews. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video. You are in a video. You are in a video. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Welcome to the rental shop. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Say you are in a video. You are in a video. Rent that shit double. Yeah, 2 for 1, baby, on Tuesday night. Got the popcorn, I'm feeling just right. Should we get a couple new releases and a couple old ones? Yeah, no, I think we can get both. We have time. We'll watch them. Yeah, if we don't get around to that one, I'll pay the